Sorry, I'm here. Stepped away.
I need to do me a favor. Jimmy is going to be out today for, he sends his apologies. So can you be my acting vice mayor for today's meeting?
I can. First time, so just give me a little guidance if I.
So mainly what I need to do is read through the agenda. So that was in the record. And for both, so you read the first agenda, then the second one. So today will be easy now. You don't have to read closed session summaries or anything like that. So it'll give you a couple of like hands-on experience for turning day when you become vice mayor.
Excellent. Thank you.
Mayor, can I ask you a question, please?
Hi, Jim. Hi, Mr. Kamali.
Does he get paid for it?
I wish. Send me my check for being mayor since you're at it. But I see Jimmy has joined the conversation. So Jared, you're gonna be there in case he's not there. Thank you, Jimmy, for joining.
Thank you, Jimmy.
It's like Jimmy lied to us.
I'm here, but let Jared do it because I don't have complete access. I'm going to be grading him on how he does.
Perfect. Make sure you send the full report card over with notes. Very fine-tuned notes.
I'll be happy with a solid B+, Jimmy.
That's your aim. So because we have quite a lengthy agenda, I will go ahead and get the meeting started so we could at least move forward to reviewing of the agenda and for you to read it through so we can move forward as we wait for Luke to join us, okay?
I'm here.
He's here.
Thank you, Luke. You see what happens? Like I call you guys names and you guys like materialize, right? Okay.
Mayor.
Thank you. Okay, so this is the agenda for the work session, Mayor Consta for the City of Rainier. This is a virtual work session on Tuesday, December 21st, 2021, 7:02, and I'd like to call the meeting to order. Present and accounted for, we have Luke Chesed, Councilmember Chesed, Councilmember Jared Stofes, and Councilmember Jimmy Tarlow, correct? And I as mayor, so I will ask for the council to please review the agenda. And once you're ready, just give me the thumbs up that you have reviewed it. But in the meantime, I would like to ask Jared, who's acting vice mayor for tonight, helping Jimmy and I, to read through the agenda so that way we could get a fair reading of the agenda.
Absolutely. This is the agenda for the work session on December 21st, 2021. Yep, thank you. Starting at 7 a.m. So the items for discussion tonight, number 1, call to order. 2, City Council review the agenda meeting. Number 3, presentation.
You have to get closer to the mic. You're pulling a Selena right now.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
I could hear you now.
Sorry.
It's a little light. Is there a way to turn up your microphone maybe? It sort of went out.
Yeah, can you hear me better now?
That's a little better.
Okay, hang on a sec. Let me grab a... Yeah.
You're taking notes, right, Jimmy, on this recording?
Yes.
Thank you.
B minus. Let me plug in this headset real quick.
Mayor, I do have a suggestion about the agenda, but I can do that after Jared talks if you'd like.
Yeah, let Jared go through the whole thing first. Go ahead, Jared. No pressure.
Okay.
Can you all hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes.
That should be better. Okay, I'm do this with a headset. Okay, number 3, presentation on application at 3721 Wills Avenue, where the mayor and council discussed the billing application for that address. Number 4, Potts Hall update. Howard Goldstein Consulting Architect will give the mayor and council an update on Potts Hall. Number 5, the Spring Park Peace Project. update. Jack Sullivan from the University of Maryland will give a presentation to the mayor and council on the Spring Park Peace Project and update on the final drawings. Number 6, a presentation from the Tree Commission on the American Rescue Plan Act funding, ARPA. The mayor and council have a presentation from the Tree Commission on 2 proposals for ARPA funding. 1, climate resilience and stormwater mitigation, urban tree planting at $20,000, and 2, a spatial analysis of the tree canopy at $10,000. Number 7, ordinance number 13, 2021, providing a temporary amnesty for certain parking violations. Mayor and council discussed the ordinance number 13-2021. Number 8, ARPA discussion. That's the American Rescue Plan Act. The mayor and council will review updates on a list of potential projects. Number 9, keeping the courts virtual. The mayor and council have a discussion on supporting a draft letter submitted by residents to ask the House and Senate Judiciary Committee and the Chief Judge for the District Court of Maryland to keep permitting the public to attend court hearings virtually. Number 10, resolution number 9, 2021 charter amendment. The mayor and council have a discussion on resolution number 9, 2021. Number 11, discussion on potential crosswalks, speed bumps, and stop signs. The mayor and council will have a discussion on potential crosswalks and stop signs for number 1, 30th Street between Bunker Hill and Shepherd Street. Number 2, Bunker Hill at 36th Street. Number 3, Rainier Avenue northbound at 33rd and Taylor. Number 12, a discussion on the petition for traffic calming device at 3400 Newton Street. The mayor and council will have a discussion on the traffic calming device petition received from residents on 3400 Newton Street. Number 13, presentation of December 7th, 2021 legislative meeting minutes. The mayor and council received December 7th, 2021 legislative meeting minutes from the city clerk. And number 14, adjournment.
Thank you. I didn't realize you were going to bring the big guns out with like headset and everything. I should have asked you this earlier.
No, thanks for letting me know about the microphone. I didn't realize it was that soft.
No problem. Okay, so that is the fair reading of the agenda. So Luke, you wanted the floor right after. Go ahead, it's yours.
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I was thinking that we move, because the ARPA discussion is going to be a review of, kind of where we're at, and I don't know if there will be any decisions made, and it might be helpful to have that ARPA discussion after we talk through all the stop signs and after the discussion on Newton Street, because one of the potential ARPA projects is Newton Street. So it might be helpful to move the ARPA discussion down to, I guess, move it from where it is and make it 12, and then the numbers between ARPA, which is 8. So the numbers, so keeping courts virtual becomes 8, the charter amendment becomes 9, crosswalks become 10, traffic calming becomes 11, then the ARPA becomes 12. That way we have all those discussions on Newton Street and stuff in case there's anything we want to change on the document about ARPA itself.
Okay, so you're in very simple words, you're asking for what number to be moved down to one number?
For number 8 to become number 12.
Okay, Melissa, can you work on that? And council, are you guys okay with that? Jared, Jimmy, any
Yes.
objection?
I'm no concerns. Good suggestion, Luke. Thank you.
All right, thank you. And I think some of them, like, the letter for the virtual court, that should be pretty fast because we already approved a letter. And, and once we get to a point, I have a very clear suggestion for that because we won't have to wait until January 4th to vote for that because it's very aligned to the same letter we sent and we voted on. So it could go out tomorrow if need be. Okay, so there has been a move in the agenda as noted by Council Member Luke Chesek. And both Council Member Stopes and Tarlo were fine with the changes, so am I. So Melissa, if you could make that change, we will move forward to approving this agenda. Okay. All right. Anything else to add, anything else about the agenda? If not, I'd like to move forward to starting the meeting. Okay. Seeing that there's none, Let's move on to item number 3, presentation on building application 3721 Wells Avenue. And we have Alma here. And Alma is the owner of the property here as well.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Yes, we do have the owner, Mr. Drew Osausuwa, here to present his property on 3721 Wells Avenue.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening. So tell us about what's happening in the property, what changes are proposing, and what are we looking at right now for the public to be able to hear this?
We are looking at a 4,000 square feet home. It's going to be on 3 levels, sitting in crawl space.
Your mic is. Can you speak into the mic, please? I could barely hear you.
Hello. Hi, can you guys hear me?
That's much better, Drew. Yep.
Better,
Okay.
thank you.
So we are looking at a 4,000 square feet home, 3 level, 4,000 square feet home.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Now it's going to be a 3 level, 4,000 square feet home sitting on a crawl space, right there over there, Wells Avenue. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Is there any particular question?
Okay, Alma, anything else to fit in before we go to council for questions?
So I just wanted to let you know that this is a new construction that's going to be happening on Wells Avenue, close to Public Works Department. The owner has worked in the city previously. If you remember, the new build that's actually on your street, 37th Street, was actually built by him. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask.
Okay, so council, I'm going to if you have any questions, please ask. Okay, so we're going to start with since this is in your ward.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear that question.
Yeah, Selena, you're coming in and out.
Luke, followed by Jimmy.
Yes. Okay.
And followed by Jared.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So I'm looking at this picture right now of the property there. Is this the property that borders Public Works? There's this.
It's the third one. The one that borders Public Works is a white house, and then you have another one in between. Mine is the last one.
And gotcha. So in the second one up is the blue one that's been rehabbing and is coming along. Okay. So there are a few things to be mindful of that, we want to make sure folks are very mindful of. We do have a tree canopy ordinance, so be very mindful of that. And Alma can fill you in on the details of that, and we have pamphlets on that. We do like to protect our trees. If there are trees that need to be cut down that are beyond a certain circumference, there is a process for that because those are important to our tree canopy. Construction is 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. So I don't want to get calls from residents that construction's happening before or after that. And please protect trees that you aren't cutting down. Make sure there's barriers around them and you're not cutting into the roots of those trees with the construction itself. And then make sure, and it doesn't look like it may be a problem with the topography from where you are, but a lot of times, make sure that the sediment that you're moving, the clay, is not piled up on the sidewalk there. If there's a big rain event or even a small rain event, the clay can start to pour down onto the sidewalk and the streets and other residents' yards. So those are just a few things to be mindful of. Is it possible on the screen to move to the design to see the footprint of the house? And then I'll reserve the remainder of my time and you can move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Jimmy, the floor is yours. Jimmy, are you there? Okay, I'm gonna pass
I
to
am
Jared.
there.
Go ahead.
But Mayor, from now on,
if I want to say something, I will, so you don't have to call on me, okay?
Jimmy, I couldn't hear you. Did you say you want to say something or you want to wait?
He said that he'll let you know if he wants to say something. So just there's no need to call on him. We can just skip through him. If he
Okay.
says something, he'll chime in.
I'm here, but I have like some other people around me, so I may not be able to talk every
It's
time.
okay, Jimmy. Thank you. So what I'll do is like I'll put you in the last rotation. If I don't hear nothing from you, then I'll skip right through, okay? All right, Jared.
That's great.
The floor's yours.
I just wanted to thank you for taking the time to come before council tonight. Nothing additional to add. I just want to echo the points that Luke made about tree canopy, hours of construction, and the keeping in mind the disposal and management of dirt and other things around the property. Those, as Luke mentioned, those are things we often hear about, and things we want to flag for you because those are kind of the most common concerns and rules that are not followed. So just again, thanks again, and just be mindful of those items. And again, Alma can answer any questions for you about the specific ordinances and questions you might have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. This question is for Ms. Rollins or for Alma. Whichever is able to answer this. Has this permit been already approved by the county, or is it working to get approved by the county?
No,
county-
Mayor. The
permit has been approved.
yes,
I'm sorry, was it yes or a no?
it's a yes. It's been approved by the county already.
All right, perfect. Thank you. The other question I have, has this design been sent to, any need to be sent to the review design board at all at this point?
No, Mayor. So it doesn't have a variance, so it doesn't go in front of the design review board.
Perfect. Thank you. I always like to ask you for the record, so that
Sure,
way,
no problem.
that way we don't miss that one. Okay, perfect. So, I will go ahead and open up to the public unless, Luke, you have something else to add for right now?
No, I think there was a question in the chat about the impervious surface fee.
Yeah, that was going to be the next question going to the chat.
That was actually answered directly to Mary Lee.
So the question on the chat was, new construction will be subject to impervious surface fee, correct? That's a question maybe for you.
Yes, correct. And that was addressed by the owner already.
All right, perfect. Any other question from the community? Let us know. You could type your name on the chat or let us know you just want to talk in the chat and we'll call upon you. We have Brian, do you want me to just ask it or so from Brian Neller, how much will the fee be?
I'm sorry, Mayor?
Alma, do you have that answer?
Yeah, I have what the impervious is $1,277 just for the impervious.
Okay. So that is, yeah, thank you, Alma. You're welcome, Brian. Okay, anything else on Facebook on this property? The other thing is definitely will be here. Not only are they next to Public Works, but they're like on the other side of my street. So, and sound carries very much. So it's not too far. Okay, so seeing that there's no other questions for Red Council community, Alma, anything else to add that you think we need to know?
No, all the information was given to the owner already, but if there's anything else I need to go over, I'll definitely get in touch with him tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. Mr. Drew, thank you so much for coming. We look forward to developing that space and, getting wonderful residents in there as well. So have a good night.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, good night. All right, let me go back to the agenda. Next item on the agenda will be an update on Potts Hall from the architects, Howard Goldston Consulting Architects. So is Howard here already?
Yes, I am.
Hi, Howard. How are you? So we're looking forward to hearing this update, getting the new council members, up to speed, but also us who have been here for a whole long 4 years, 4 years and a half now.
Yes.
Okay. So
I think it's more like 10
floor
years,
is yours.
Mayor.
The project has been going on for 10 years.
Correct.
Right. As far as the update is concerned, we did get a building permit over a year ago, or maybe it's a year this month. And it expired once. We extended it, and then it expired again, or was about to expire again this month, and then we extended it for 2 years. So now the building permit will last till December of 2023.
To get the shovel.
Right, to get the shovel on the ground. So we don't have to think about that part for a while. As far as the project is concerned, is there a need to review the concept, the drawings, the budget? What exactly do we want to do? Are there new folks who want to know about this project from the beginning, or what's what are the interests?
Mayor, this is Jimmy.
I am here, Jimmy. Go ahead.
I think it would be not lengthy, the original and then how it was kind of scaled down, and what the project is now. And then there's also a question about a reimbursement that we're supposed to get from the state. I was wondering if you could also talk about that. But I think giving a brief summary of, what the original project was and then how it was scaled down, because I knew the first part, but I don't know what happened after I left.
Okay.
Yeah. So do you, wait, hold on one second, guys. So is there anything in the screen that we could see that's been submitted? So we could visually see something? So can we put it up in the screen so that we're all seeing it and including the community?
Certainly. Okay.
Yeah,
Hold on one second. Let's put it on the screen, and that way we're all on the same page. The other thing is, remember, it's not just for us, but also for the community to see what it is, because we have usually a bunch of questions regarding this building, historical,
and you know
where it is, where it's at.
Screen right
Okay.
there.
So you've been made a presenter, Howard?
Excuse me?
There you go. All right. Thank you so much. So give us a brief synopsis of what the building is, what the changes have been, and what it's looking at right now. And thank you, Howard, also Mr. Kamali, for working on the extension. So that would gives us a bit of time to get the rest of our ducks in a row. Go ahead.
Okay. Just quick to Jimmy's question. It started out as a library and the civic center. We were going to construct a library on the site where the current library and the old police station were, and then connect that to Potts Hall, and then connect those to City Hall with this 2-story space that's basically vacant now between the two buildings. So the main entrance would be between the two buildings. Yeah. And then we scaled back by eliminating the library, still having the entrance between City Hall and Potts Hall, and then putting a legal elevator in that space to access the two buildings. So this is a photo of a model not showing the library, just showing Potts Hall and City Hall with the link, which is basically glass with some sun shading and a canopy out front. We moved the staircase going up to City Hall, and then built a plaza in front, small sort of plinth, I guess, for to access the new entrance. I can show you a floor plan real quick. If you go down, sorry, right, keep going, right there. Okay, so this is the basement floor. So we'll start on the first floor. Maybe hard to read, but the building, the left portion of this drawing is Potts Hall.
This part.
With the dark walls. The right part is City Hall. And then the center is the connector with the elevator in the middle. And then on the second floor, it has, again, the link, because it's a two-story space, elevator up to both levels. There are different heights, actually. So the elevator will link the two levels. It'll be a council chamber and lobby area. And there's an egress. There's a walkway between the two buildings. And that's the extent of work in a nutshell.
I'm sorry. I thought we had furniture drawings.
Okay, so thank you for that. So can you let us know what the changes are currently as it hold?
Well, the changes, I'm sorry, this is the mayor speaking, right?
Right.
Right, I'm sorry. The changes, as far as cutting back, what was recommended by Councilmember Bryan, is that what you're referring to?
Yeah, we just wanted to know what the last plans of the building are.
Okay, yeah, these are the last plans. These are what the permit is for, this work. There was an idea thrown out there about a year ago, maybe a year and a half ago, to not do any renovations on Potts Hall per se, meaning don't renovate the second floor or the first floor, except for maybe some utilities, and just do the atrium, call it the two-story space, entrance and elevator. And that was, we were trying to reduce the number as much as we can before we got to bid.
No exterior.
But that would mean no exterior work on Potts Hall, except I guess we removed the stair on the front, but no new windows, no brickwork pointing, no roofing, no solar panels. Basically the bare bones to get the elevator and entrance to work properly, to link the two buildings together. So that has not been permitted. Probably have to amend the permit for that. We'll also have to amend, the architectural drawings have been amended, but the engineers have not done their amendment work yet. I'm not sure how much they would have to do. Obviously, our hopes are that we don't go that route, that we leave it at the way it is now, permitting with the renovation of Potts Hall, because it'll just be much more appealing from the street, and you'll get a better use of the space. But there's obviously a money factor there. Any other questions?
So I'm going to open the floor to the council members. Thank you for that presentation. So, Jimmy, or no, you were speaking. I thought I heard you.
Yeah. Well, I guess it was was Theo on the call?
Yes.
I think there was a question about reimbursement and where we are with permitting and getting money back from the state, and what is the kind of where we are financially.
Sure.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and Council. This is Rocio.
Thank you, Rocio. Can I ask you for 1 second, Rocio? Does anybody has a specific question for Howard before we go to Rocio?
Yeah, this is
Okay. Well, Jimmy, let me wait. Let me make sure we go by parts. So, Luke, go ahead.
what's the cost estimate for the entire project for what we're looking at on the screen? Do you have that cost estimate?
Okay, yes, to a certain degree. We have a very detailed cost estimate, which I believe the city has. It was done in 2018, and it was for $3.6 million. One major difference since that cost estimate is done, or was done, was we had to enclose an egress stair in the little alley, if you will, between Potts Hall and the old police station. We had an egress stair there, but the permit office required it to be enclosed because of its proximity to the police station for fire reason. So there's going to be an upcharge for that. Otherwise, that's the detailed estimate is for that work, but it is now 3 years old. So you have to factor in whatever the inflated amount would be.
Right.
Which is going to be, who knows, 20% maybe.
Yeah.
So what is
I'm
this?
guessing it's like four and a half maybe.
So let's call it 5.
Okay. Go ahead. Go ahead, Jimmy. Go ahead, Luke.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, inflation's at 6.8%. So
Yeah.
construction is a big part of that. So
Exactly.
is that 5 million? Okay. And then,
Well, it's 6 per year, so. that would
right.
be 10%. So yeah, whatever, yeah.
Yeah. And then, okay. And then if we, okay. So that's good. So 5 million conservative, let's hope it's 4.5. Right. And when, and we wouldn't get that cost until we go out with the RFP for the construction.
Yeah, unless we did a cost estimate again, but that cost $5,000 to have that prepared.
Right.
It's
right.
probably not, I mean, you could do a cost estimate and I mean, you got to bid, and if the numbers just don't work, you just
Yeah.
build it.
So we could go out to bid and work with the Department of Housing and Community Development and say, hey, give us interest rates for 10, 20 years at 4.5, 5 million. And I know we had done that in the past, and we have those, and I think at a smaller dollar amount, but we could do that in the interim while the bid's out there, see what we get back. And then if we want to play ball, we can play ball at that point in time.
Yeah, and you can show them that estimate with the inflation, and it's very detailed
Yep.
estimate.
Yep. Okay, that's helpful.
I mean, you can show them the plans, the permit, the estimate, everything we have. I mean, this is shovel ready. So
yeah, that's less money than I was thinking. Okay, and if we could, spread it out over 30 years and take advantage of coming inflation, that might be, we might inflate away our debt. Okay, thank you.
So
Thank you, Luke.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead. Do you want to add something else, Howard?
No, I was just curious because, things inflate every day, right? So do you think it would be another couple of years before you might start? Or does it all depends on what the bank is willing to work with you on? Or
Yeah, so I can answer that question. So we have a debt burden of, I don't know, it's like $300,000 to $400,000 is like a debt payment we have from buildings that the city had previously purchased and buildings we've redeveloped. So the police department, 3200 Rhode Island Avenue, and I think we still have 1 more year of debt payments left. I could be wrong on that, but with that going off the books, you could replace that debt payment with another debt payment, and you wouldn't be busting the city's budget. So what would be the debt payment on a 20-year, 30-year loan from the state? and the state gives pretty good interest rates. We could also ask our bank and see what we could get. And then the goal there is, with inflation coming and the Fed targeting interest rate increases next year, you know, a $200,000 debt payment sounds like a lot, but in 10 years when you're paying it, and if there's 6% interest over the next 4 to 5 years, you know, that $200,000 payment is going to look like nothing. It's going to look like a $80,000 payment today, or whatever. I'm making it up, but you get the point.
So just one thing, Luke, I'm going to put a pause to it. I was waiting for you to finish your thought, but we're already over time. So I'm going to ask you guys to make a motion to extend time.
I'd like to extend for at least maybe 7 minutes to give the public a chance to comment. I know Brian's here from the public. Maybe
Really?
let's call it 10
I was
minutes.
going to say 10. Let's be realistic.
Yep.
Okay, so there's a motion on the floor to extend 10 minutes. Any seconds?
A second.
All right. Any objection? Abstentions? Hearing none. This is being extended 10 more minutes, and Melissa's doing a great job of making sure we're keeping on time. All right. So I'm going to pass it over to Jared. And then if nothing else in the structural, then we'll go ahead and go into Jimmy's question. Jared, the floor is yours.
No, I just thank you. I'm new to obviously council, and I wasn't on last time when Jimmy was discussing when this project originally came around. So I appreciate the background. It's most useful for me and all the members of the public. So I don't have anything additional to add. Just wanted to thank Luke also for your thoughts on long-term loans and where that stands. As a decision potentially for this based on where rates are today and going forward. So I'll see the rest of my time back, and we'll pass it on to Jimmy.
I have a question for structure before we move on. Howard, you mentioned the elevator. Are you talking about the one that we currently have? Because I thought I wasn't sure whether the decision was to bring in a whole complete new elevator or keep the one that we currently have and make it work that way.
Well, the plan is to remove the one that you have and then create a hallway in that space, or extend the hallway through into a new elevator. The current elevator is not code compliant, and it doesn't. It's very small. So that was kind of the main focus of this project, was to make the elevator something that was more usable to all, and making it handicap accessible. It doesn't conform to the accessibility code.
Thank you for the clarity on that, because I've heard both versions from the community. So I want to make sure it was clear on record. So that way they definitely know, and the people that have ride that elevator, they definitely the shaft, they know exactly what it is. All right, thank you for that. So Rocio, can you go ahead and address Jimmy's question? Mr. Kamal, if you have anything to add, please also let me know so I could see you the floor as well. Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. Yes, good evening, everyone, again. Thank you for having me tonight, and thank you, Howard, for being on the call today and doing the presentation for our mayor and council here in the public. So yeah, Jimmy, to answer your question, as far as the invoices and the reimbursement goes, the city has not received a reimbursement. The county actually has received the invoices. They did come back and request a cost breakdown or schedule of values. I'm sorry. So we did go ahead and submit that information to the county. I'm just waiting to hear back to see what the next steps are in getting that reimbursement from here.
Thank you, Rocio. And anything else, Jimmy?
Well, I have a comment to make about the whole thing. But should I wait? Is this my turn, or should I wait?
It is your turn.
So I think this has been going on for a long time, and this is not a building that a developer would want to touch just because it's a historical building, and it's somewhat of keeping it there as is kind of an eyesore. I mean, and at some point I think we have to I don't know what they say, should it get off the pot or whatever the term is. But we have to actually, I think, move ahead with this and actually, figure out how we're going to fund it and make this a kind of a good piece of property, like something that really, kind of makes our community look good and is a useful building. And I think we have to maybe a committee or one or two people meeting with the city manager and the architect to actually come up with a specific plan about how we move forward on this. Because, I don't think we can just, keep this, for years. And I'm not sure, I think we have to move on it. So my suggestion is that maybe, one or two, and maybe we get Mr. Nedler or somebody else to meet with the city manager and the seal and actually come up with kind of a plan about how we move ahead on that. So that's where I'm at. Thank you.
Thank you, Jimmy. There is a comment on the chat from Brian. Said, can solar panels be installed ASAP to help make the loan payments? Our house, is the roof capable, Mr. Kamali, is the roof capable of being able to handle solar panels at this point?
Yes, it is. There's some structural changes. I've got to think back now, a year and a half. We reinforced the existing roof to accommodate the solar panels. So the structure would remain, and we'd add some members to it, which have been engineered by our structural engineer. They're on the documents. It's not a real big deal. It's all wood frame. The permit for the solar panels in the county, for some reason, they require a separate permit. So we have documents from our engineers and ours, I guess, that show what needs to be done, but we haven't filed for that yet. But that can be done during construction because the panels won't go on until practically the end anyway. So, and we need a new roof, but the new roof is in the documents.
Okay, Mr. Kamali, anything to add?
No, that's all. I think, I defer to Howard, and I appreciate his time for giving mayor and council that information tonight.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. So I guess, Brian, the answer in short is it could be put after construction, but not prior. I'm thinking you were thinking of getting them up and top first, so that we could get some money moving.
Well, they can be put installed during construction.
Mm-hmm.
Once the reinforcing is done, once the roof is on, but they wouldn't be generating power probably until the completion of the work.
Okay. And let me see. Can you guys tell me if there's anything on Facebook, a comment? And Tom, our consultant, mentions it's a $5 million loan at 3.5. For 20 years, it's about $350,000 annually through state CDA programs. The interest rate would be pretty low. And Brian mentioned that he believes City Hall panels could potentially bring $100,000 a year, and there's no comment on Facebook. Luke, you made your comment. I think that's probably the rate they'll give us right now. If I'm remembering the rate they'll give us. So, okay. So do you have any other questions for Rocio of Howard before I make my next statement, Council? Jared, Luke, or Jimmy?
I have a general comment, but not on a path forward, but not a question for them. Thank you.
Okay, so I just want to make sure I know how to move it. Jimmy, anything for Rocio, Mr. Kamali, or Howard?
No, I just think moving forward is what we should talk about.
Okay, I just want to make sure I know so that way they could continue doing what they're doing. All right, Jerry, you're the same, right? You're good?
Yeah, just one quick question.
Tell me.
The solar panels, is that revenue generated through the SRECs? Are the credits?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, is that on the DC interconnect?
Yes.
Okay. Gotcha. No, that's very helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I also want to make sure we give a fair chance because I know Jared, you knew, so I want to make sure we're on the same plane when we make decisions. So you're caught up. So tonight is a work session. No firm decisions are made. But to me, it feels like, and I'll give you guys the floor right now. It seems like we need to come together as council and think about everything we just said and figure out what direction we're giving our staff for the next steps. So I know I just heard Jimmy. Luke, go ahead. Lucas?
Yeah, so I don't think it needs to be too complicated. Happy to have Brian give us give the city some more free labor, but I think our city manager can work with the architects to get. I mean, my proposal would be to go out with an RFP. While that's happening, reach out to the Department of Housing and Community Development, get an estimate on loans at the $5 million, and maybe I would do it at 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5. So those 4 numbers, I would want to get a loan out because we do have money in our reserves that we could fund from. It wouldn't have to be all a total loan. I would ask our bank, SunTrust, for interest rates at those figures. So 3.5, 4, 4.5, 5. And we can get those figures back pretty quickly. They can produce those for us pretty quickly. And have another meeting and talk about those interest rates and what we want to do, and go from there. But I think we should just get the RFP out and know the cost, and in the interim have the financing, and then we'll have a conversation on it. And then I know, people have mentioned the potential of getting funding from the state through a bond bill, and we should explore that as well. And I know this year might be too late, but if there's a chance to explore that, we should try to. That's my idea. Thanks.
Time is up. Can we add 2 more minutes to finally wrap up this meeting? That would make it 5 in case, so that way Jared says his piece. Anything else to add? So, can we move forward for 5 more minutes on the clock?
Yep.
All right.
Yes.
Thank you. Jared?
No additional.
I will hear. Was that a yes? 5 minutes?
Oh, yes. Sorry. Yes. Additional 5 minutes, but no. Yeah. Sorry.
Thank you. So at least we could wrap it up.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, aside from going to the banks, definitely reaching out. I know Brian put in the chat the Department of Energy to help with the solar panels and the geothermal. So we need to start reaching out to figure out what other funding we could potentially have. I want to make sure we also try to go for the bond bill if they could give us more funding for this, and figure out what it looks like when it comes to even doing it in phases, right? Every year, try to aim at a different pile of grants to try to make up the some of the costs for this building. Mr. Kamali, was your hand raised?
No.
Okay, I'm sorry. You move.
Thank
I'll make sure I'm not ignoring you.
No, I'm just writing some notes.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. So I think moving forward, if we all could agree to go out and find what those interest rates will be for the 3 amounts that Luke mentioned, I think will give us a good set of where to be, and also find out what other grants are out there. But that way, if you guys January meeting for work session will be a good place to place this so we could start moving with it. Because I don't want to wait until we're down 9 months before the next extension is due. This current extension is due before we do something. So Mr. Kamali and Melissa, can you guys put this in the January work session so that we could get an update where we're at with this numbers and next steps, and then we could have further discussion there. Are we all in agreement?
Just, Mayor, could we be a little more specific? I mean, I agree with you. What we're actually asking Mr. Kamali to do for the January meeting, because review what we're asking him to task so we can move forward in the January meeting. Just maybe I couldn't quite clarify exactly what we want him to do.
So I asked him to pretty much follow what Luke said and bring all that information back to us for the January meeting.
So it would be, so Mr. Kamali would work to prepare an RFP for the January work session for us to review. And is that how I'm understanding it, Selena?
RFP for review, bank information, and reach out to the other departments to figure out what else they could do. So we could have as much information in front of us. But yeah, so touching all your points plus the one that Brian added.
Okay, so it would be, and Jimmy, just to repeat back, so it would be the RFP, reach out to the Department of Homeland Housing and Community Development for their interest rates, our bank for their interest rates at 4 price points, 3.5, 4, 4.5, and 5. And then we'll have that information and we'll review it at the January work session and think of a path forward. And on top of that, reach out to the Department of Energy to see the state's Department of Energy to see what grants they potentially have available for us for the solar panel and the geothermal.
And also to reach out regarding the bond bills for this year, if it could still be a possibility for us to get any funding from there.
Yep, sounds good.
So we're not voting, but if we're all in agreement, we have a path forward when it comes to subjects. So we'll be addressing it in the January work session. Okay. I don't hear nothing, so we're in agreement. All right. Howard, thank you so much for coming today. Brian Neller, you know, I know this is your baby equivalent, so I know you were not going to be that far away anyway. So you're definitely part of this task force. So thank you so much, Howard, Rocio, Mr. Kamali as well for your work on this. I know you guys have been working on this for quite a bit as well on our end when it comes to the city. Okay. Have a good night, Howard. Thank you.
Happy holidays.
Thank you,
Happy holidays to you too. I know. A big thank you to everybody that's here today. I know it's like days before major holiday break, and also for all the parents from PGCPS students who have just survived day 2 of virtual learning. Thank you for being here as well. It's tough. I know. I'm with you guys now. I'm one of those poor parents. Okay. So moving on to the next item. Number 5, Spring Park Peace Project. We have an update. So we have Jack Sullivan here who will give us a presentation on the latest drawings. And we do have quite a few members of the community here. So members of the community, if you guys want to speak, just add your name to the chat and we'll call upon you. Okay. All right. Hello, Jack. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Do you need us to share screen or do we have your documents or presentation?
You should have them, but I could also share my screen if you'd like.
Okay, Melissa, which one would you prefer?
I just made him the presenter for him to share.
Thank you, Melissa.
I hope this works out because I'm having some screen issues. Hold on a second. Can you see that?
Not yet.
Yes.
Oh, there it is. Thank you, Jack. So can you let us know what we're seeing and any changes that have happened since the last community conversation or work session will be appreciated as well.
Okay. So first of all, what you're seeing is the cover sheet of a set of bid documents for Spring Park, particularly focused on the Peace Garden. That was really our commission in the first place. And what I'm going to do is just kind of update you is from what I understand. Brian Needler, who was the supervisor of this project last year, asked us to cut back on some of the elements that we had brought into the earlier project and send a new concept for approval by the mayor and council. And that took place in May of 2021. My students and I worked on the project starting at the end of the summer and moving into the fall. We ran into a little time difficulty in getting things done, but we now have a set of bid documents. So what we've done is we, at Brian Needler's request, we've moved the Council Ring and Labyrinth, which is one unit that you see at the upper part of the park, which in this illustration, and moved it a little bit further away from the neighboring property, a little closer to the intersection. And that did two things. One, brought it a little bit further away from the neighbors themselves, but also a little bit further away from the large tree that's sitting there, the evergreen that's right there. And I'm sorry, I just forgot what it was. The neighbors will probably know, I'm sure. And so the new plan doesn't remove any existing vegetation whatsoever. It, in fact, makes a point of carefully preserving the existing vegetation, and that would be also in any excavation work for the project. It includes a path that moves diagonally from Shepherd Street over to 33rd Street. That is a path that's made out of porous pavement, very similar to the pavement that's currently on 33rd Street. The labyrinth itself is actually from a precast concrete kit, if you will, that would be delivered in total with directions. And then that's about 14 feet in diameter, 7 feet radius. And the surrounding bench around the labyrinth would sit on a band, a 2-foot wide band of pavers to kind of extend the same material that's in the labyrinth kit. And the bench then, which I'll show you here in just a second, is essentially a combination of backless and back benches made up in segments. So each segment has a different a different kind of makeup to it. And then the plantings is really where we felt there was a great opportunity to create some visual screening between the park and the neighbors, both at the southern end as well as in the on the western side. If I look to the next, this is the sort of layout, looking at what would be removed or protected. The only element that's being removed at this stage of the game is the existing blue wave kind of bench that's there. And part of that was because there would be some minor grading and planting in that area. There's also the layout, it just gives a little bit more clarity to the dimensioning and the location of all these elements. And then the grading itself is actually quite minimal, but there's a lot of things to consider, which is why there's a half a page of notes about it. Then there's a planting plan, which is, if anybody does have any questions, some of the largest shrubs that we put in here are witch hazel, which is a deciduous plant that'll do well in the early spring as far as blooming, and then will do well in what is essentially a rather shady area, and pretty much constantly in shade except for possibly some sunlight early morning and late afternoon in the summertime. The benches, and I don't know if you can see this very clearly, but as you can see, there's 4 different segments of the bench, and that's determined by whether or not it has a back on it or whether or not it has an arm rest on it and where they're located. So and then the planting details. And if you hold on just a second, did you see a change in the plans at all? Or do I have to close out of one and then get in the other?
There's some, looks like plans, hybrid installation cross section. That's what we're seeing on screen.
Okay, hold on a second.
Page L6.
Yeah, thank you. I'm going to close out of this so I can show you can show you a different element. So these are the kits for the labyrinth, and these are essentially going to be pavers sitting on stone dust as a setting bed, and that's sitting on a compacted gravel. So the whole thing has a certain level of porosity so that it doesn't become a total impervious element. And then the two-foot band around this would be the same material. And then that would be held together by a steel edging material. So that would hold it tight together. And then the bench sits on top of it. The bench is designed in a way that it is self-supporting, so it doesn't need any strong foundation. Basically, it sits on the pavement without any deep foundations. And that was a plus for us because we thought that we didn't want to cause any more disruption to the root system of the nearby plants. So, hold on a second. We did not, just to let you know what we did not do and what we did not work on. And sorry, there we go, stop sharing. Okay, wait a minute. See if I can do this again. Sorry, it's taking me too long. And to do this, where I can go off to one side, I think. Yeah, so this is what that pavement will look like. We don't have a wall on the, we did at one point propose a wall, but we don't think we need it at this stage of the game. And then generally this is the kind of bench, and I'm sorry I don't have an exact replica of what we're doing it. This is inverted, of course, in this particular, but this is a system of benches that you can choose the back, an arm, or a backless part of it. So we put the backs on the side of the, toward the west, by the western neighbor, and then open no backs near the arrival point. And what we did not do was work on the well itself. The intention was that the well would be handled by Public Works, the spring well, and that I did meet with Jennifer Stabler of MNC PPC, the Historic Preservation Department there, and she let me know that she was very enthusiastic about, of course, keeping the well, no question about that, but doing whatever the city can afford to restore the original character, because she saw it as being related to the Clemson property and thought it might be valuable as part of that history of Mount Rainier. But we did not do, because we did not do a full plan for that, we don't have that included in our cost estimate either. The biggest concern right now is the fact that the well overflows and is really dangerous, especially in the winter months, when the water from the well essentially goes across the property, across the sidewalk, heading toward the intersection of Shepherd and 33rd, and then flows across the street, where it then oftentimes freezes and causes a lot of dangerous situations. So that's where we are.
Perfect. Thank you, Jack. I'm going to go ahead and open the floor to Jared, since this is in his ward. And followed by Luke, and Jimmy will let me know if he has a statement to make. Jared, the floor is yours.
Yeah, Jack, thank you for that detailed summary of the project. I really appreciate it, and providing that. It's again helpful for me, being new in council, and I know it's helpful for those listening on those listening via Facebook or WebEx. So I think I had don't think I have any immediate questions at this time. Actually, a quick question regarding the well can you, I guess, provide a little more detail about the, what if the city were to need to do something with a well, what would was that like restoring, I guess, restoring it to what it originally looked like, or is that, and how could that, I guess, potentially be balanced with, the overflow concerns? Because I think there was obviously a concern about historic restoration, but there's also a concern, and I see that expressed in the chat too, about the, the drainage concerns that we have. Obviously not over here; it's replicated elsewhere in the city as well.
Yeah. So essentially, the biggest concern, like I just mentioned, is the fact that the well overflows. That's a safety hazard, and that needs to be addressed primarily. But I think the character of the well has been somewhat, what would you call it? Back in the mid-century, it looks like they added the brickwork, which is not very good brickwork. I don't even know exactly why they did it, although they might have wanted to raise the level, especially on the back side of the well, where years of accumulation in the leaf litter has become soil over the years, and that caused some of that to spill off into the well. So I think that there was a need to create some kind of way to stop that's water and dirt flowing into the well.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know what else to say about that, because we, as much as I would like to see that be repaired to make it look as though it's closer to what it was back in the probably late 19th century, early 20th century, which is the only evidence we have in photographs is the early 20th century, and try to get it to that level. But I have not made a cost estimate of that.
Thank you so much. Jared, did that answer your question?
It did, yeah, and I see there's a number of comments or questions in the chat. I think that I will cede the rest of my time right now to other council members so we can get to those.
Okay, so we are going to get to the community. We're just going through the council right now, so I just want to make sure we are getting to you. Luke, go ahead. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hey, Jack, long time.
Yeah, how are you?
It's good to hear your voice.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I don't have a camera working right now.
That's fine. I do miss your face, though. We'll get to see it at some point. We'll have to grab coffee again at some point. But I just appreciate you doing this work for the city. I know when Chevali first had this, and we had a meeting at Red Dirt Studios. I know there was a meeting in down at the art lab. And I just appreciate this drawing. It feels like it is trying to sort of walk the line between, I think there was a lot of excitement about the revitalization of this park, myself included. And there were some really neat designs that Jack, your team came up with in the beginning. Really big makeovers. And then we sort of had pushback from neighbors nearby who were concerned about that level of construction and rehab of the park. And so I think this design does a good job of trying to balance those two interests out. From my perspective, there is a timing concern here with this grant and losing the $50,000. So I'm sort of interested to see what residents have to say. I'm sure there's strong feelings on both sides of those sometimes competing interests. So looking forward to what they have to see. But I really appreciate the work and hope the city can move forward so we don't lose the money. Thank you.
Thank you, Luke. Jimmy?
I'm interested in hearing what residents say, so I'll hold off on that.
Okay, thank you, Jimmy. Okay, so Jack, thank you so much for putting this information forward. I think it's easier. The reason why I think we asked for this to be on the agenda was one, to make sure that we get to see it, right? And bring us back where we need to be with time running out. The other thing is we are going to open up the floor to residents as well. Right now, at least for me, it feels very much like we're discussing what to do with the 50,000 more than anything else, because that's the money that's going to be running out. So that's kind of where I'm at. That doesn't mean the park will never be touched in their life, but at a certain point, we need to agree or come with a conclusion on this first amount of money to make sure that that we don't lose it. Okay, so let me see. Please let me know if you would like to talk. Just add your name to the chat and I'll call upon you. Brian Neller did say the tree is a hemlock. I know the minute you said that, I was looking for Brian to give me an answer, and he delivered. There's also for the record, Brian did say whatever you need him to do with this work, he's there. I mean, Potts Hall, and he's always been very helpful. So thank you for that. So I will say, Council, first of all, can I have 10 minutes on the clock, because we are over time already?
Yep.
Okay. Oh, and if there's is there an objection? Speak on now, Council. Here now, we're gonna add 10 more minutes to the clock. Thank you, Melissa, for the notice. Okay, so I see several comments from Ayelet. Ayelet, would you like to make the comments, or do you want me to read them? Okay, I'll read the comments. Okay, so, and then Mark, I do see you want to speak, so you'll be called upon. It says, we have a terrible runoff problem at this intersection with water running from the school parking lot. Oh, you're happy to speak. Thank you, Gillette. The floor is yours.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for devoting some of your evening to this little park outside my bedroom window. Thank you for making the changes to the park. It doesn't seem to be the kind of disruption that or reduction in green space that the original proposal appeared to be. So you've read my comments about runoff, and that's a serious concern here at this intersection, because our intersection and up Shepherd Street towards the school in front of my house. I'm at I live at my house faces Shepherd. It's a house with a driftwood fence. And so all in front of our house is just this sheet of ice every winter, and people fall and injure themselves and cars crash, and it's not a good situation. So while I appreciate this new design, I'm curious if there's a more permeable substance that can be used other than concrete, because we do not need any more runoff here. The neighbors would like to see the well restored. That is exciting for us. But then you say that that's not going to happen through this proposal. That's somebody else. So is the well restoration going to be paid for with $50,000, or this, or is the landscaping in this labyrinth and the benches going to use up the $50,000?
Basically, the labyrinth and the benches and the plantings use up the $50,000. I did a cost estimate that came to $48,000.
And do we know what the restoration of the well might cost?
We do not, because there isn't a plan as such at this point in time.
But the brickwork would remain with this plan. It would be untouched.
Yes.
You have any other question, Ayelet?
No, thank you. No, I think that's it for now. Thank you. And if you have any questions about that I might be able to help answer, I know that some of my neighbors aren't here right now, like the immediate neighbors, but this is something that we have conversations about, and I can't speak for them, but I can certainly give you a sense for what I think would be acceptable. And I do think that this would be acceptable because it has less concrete and less pavement. I think what was alarming was just the sheer amount of green that would be gone from the original plan.
Thank you, Ayele. We appreciate your willingness to help, and also for being here tonight as well. Another surviving parent of virtual learning. We're all bonding together. Okay, Jack. Quick question, since that was brought up. The pathway, is that permeable, or is it regular? What's the material that the pathway is gonna be?
We're proposing that it be the same material that's used on 33rd Street. When Mr. Kamali was the Director of Public Works, he actually had that contracted for. And we'd like to use the same material, and it would bring not only some more porous element onto the site, but it would also feel like it connects to some of the existing conditions.
So to clarify, is that a flexi payment or not?
Yes.
It is. Because remember, not everybody's seen the space, so we need to make sure we actually say, thank you, Jack. I know what it looks like, but I want to make sure the message is clear that it'll be a flexi payment that they're looking into putting there. So that might be able to ease some of the concerns they had regarding the concrete being placed there. Okay. I just muted myself. Okay, so next we have Mark Grisser. I already said your name, but can you let us know what your block number is? And the floor is yours for up to 3 minutes. Go ahead. Mark, are you there?
Mark, we can't hear you. Mark.
How's this? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Sorry
Go ahead,
about
Mark.
that. I'm Mark Grissar, and I live in the 4100 block of 30th Street, a few blocks away from the park. As you probably know, the park is dear to me for many, many years. And I do want to thank Jack Sullivan and his team for the hard work they put into this. However, I'm going to ask a question first. Have there been any community inputs or community meetings since that March 31st council workshop session at which I spoke, and others did too?
No, there have not been.
There have not been, and no communication to the community either. I feel
I think the city council meeting in May was a public meeting.
Yeah, May was the last one I could recall of. Jared and Luke, when was the last time you were there? Was it around that time?
I know we talked about that at a public meeting in May or around there, but we haven't had a public meeting just on this.
No,
like a standalone meeting.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead, Mark.
Luke, are you referring to that meeting you had about stormwater problems at 30th Street?
No, I think Selena mentioned something back in May that it was on an agenda item on a. So but there was no standalone meeting.
So I don't want to be complaining if I'm missing out just by my own negligence of not knowing that there was supposed to be a meeting. But you know, a lot was said back in March, and I feel like none of that's been reflected in the new plan. I think that from a design standpoint, there's a lot to be desired in this latest plan. Also, I think that we have the priorities backwards, since there is a time limit on the 50,000. And in my mind, well, let's back up. I'm wondering if the 50,000 shouldn't be spent on the spring itself. And it seems like that's the most important part of the whole thing. That's why it is Cold Spring Park. That's why we're doing anything. And whether it's historic restoration or a modification since it's been modified already. And since we have such a short amount of time to get this project done, it's possible that fixing the spring itself, the plumbing and what's on the surface, what shows, could eat up a large part, if not all of that 50,000. It's ironic to me that we don't have a number for that at this point. The idea of doing the park and it's, the seating and the circle, the labyrinth and so forth, before dealing with the spring seems backwards to me. At that meeting that Luke and Jared had at Perry Street, I rose the possibility of using some of the funds that have been given to the city, the $5 million, and to put some of that into this park. And it seems like the park is a worthy project for that money. And I'm curious as to why that hasn't come up at all as a possible spending portion of that money. And in closing, I'd like to say that I would really like to have another meeting where the community can make some design inputs, because it looks to me like the plan that's presented is going to wind up looking, not up to standards, subpar. The benches, the loss of the retaining wall.
Mark, can you please wrap it up because you're over 30 minutes over.
I am so sorry. The 14-foot diameter sitting area, the peace circle, is so small. 14 feet is nothing. So I guess that's, I've got a lot more to say, but that's enough for now. And thank you for your forbearance.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to ask if anybody's going to speak. Please honor the 3 minutes. We gave you a little bit because we talked a little bit more, so we gave a little bit more. So I have MJ that's also in the list to speak. MJ, the mic is yours. Go ahead. MJ, if you're speaking, we cannot hear you.
Can you hear me now?
We could hear you now. Thank you, MJ.
Okay.
Thank you for being here.
Great, thank you. Thank you for allowing me to speak. And I just want to kind of share that Little Friends for Peace obviously was the sponsor of this grant. And I have not heard anything from anyone I think since probably May. And it was by chance that I caught that the comment from Mark on the email. So I guess I'm a bit concerned that LFFP be part of this conversation in terms of what is going forward, just because we are in communication with the people who helped to be part of this. So just why we entered into the conversation of having a peace park and a peace circle. And so, as we go forward, I just want to make sure that Little Friends for Peace can be part of the conversation in terms of the grant. So that's really all I want to say, because I just wasn't, no one's contacted us. So that's something I wanted to note.
Thank you, MJ. Moving forward, we'll make sure you copy on everything, okay? Melissa, Mr. Kamali, please make sure that's the case. And we apologize if there was an oversight on our end, if anything.
No
okay,
problem.
so let me see the chat. Anything on Facebook while I'm looking for the chat? Okay, so I don't have any more, no comment on Facebook. Brian did mention the grant requires the labyrinth element. Yeah, correct. That was the essence of it. ARPA water storm funds could be used for the spring. Yeah. So I think that especially with this, I want to make sure that we do two things. One of them, we are addressing the first 50. ARPA funds have been put in the list to be able to address this. If you guys have been following our conversations with ARPA, there are funds that we're looking into allocating to Spring Park. So to me right now, it's moving forward with the first 50 because we do have like limited time to be able to use them as we continue our conversations on what other funds can we, especially when it comes to the water storm management, because ARPA funds could do many things, but they're very, very limited as well. One of the things that could do is storm water management, but that Spring Park happens to be in the list of the parks that we're looking to address with ARPA funding as well. As for step forwards, we are definitely looking into Rocio, Mr. Kamali will work also to host a community meeting. If I'm correct, right? I think that's what we talked about being the next step on location. So that was a little bit easier, but it might have to eventually be virtually because with the whole new rise in cases with the new variant, it makes everything even more complicated. Okay, so Council, I'm gonna do another round. Can we keep it to 2 minutes and under because we're already over our time limit? So I need to hear from you guys after you have heard all the various comments. Okay, Luke, your mic is open, so I'm gonna go with you.
Thank you, Mayor. Appreciate everybody's comments. Mark, just to reiterate what Selena said and give you a little more details, we did identify Spring Park for ARPA fundings, and Mr. Kamali has talked about putting, one of the first steps would be getting a pipe to connect from the spring to the storm drain because there should be drainage there, but there's not. And so ARPA funding has been eyed for that. But I support the direction that the mayor sort of laid out, which I think would be, going out with the RFP for this design. I think it strikes the right balance. And then having ARPA funding for the stormwater issue there with the drain pipe, and then looking into the potential of redoing the spring. That's a big project. I think you have to find somebody who can do that work, draw it up, and then engineer and all sort of the things like that. But I think that's something the city can definitely take on. It just might be a 1 to 3 year project. And we've got to get an RFP out so we can get this done soon. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jared, the floor is yours.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you everyone for your inputs. I, just want to concur with Luke on, that path forward and, as laid out by the mayor. And, we do have the opportunity for leveraging ARP funds. I do want to, just mention that the American Rescue Plan funds are, I guess Selena mentioned the eligibilities are, there's eligibilities, but there are quite a few limitations. A lot of things related to specific or direct impacts of COVID, and then specifically stormwater mitigation. And as everyone knows, through the American Rescue Plan process, we are balancing the capital needs and the social needs of residents and businesses all over the city, including some of our most vulnerable and affected folks, particularly as we potentially head into a rise again of COVID cases with potentially not another infusion of support from the federal government. So thank you again for everyone's feedback tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jared. Jimmy?
Thank you. I must have missed what the deadline was on the $50,000 to spend.
End of March.
End of March. So the question I think Mark raises is a way to spend the $50,000 on a piece of the project while still getting some more input onto the other stuff. So that's one question I had, and maybe I may have missed the whole thing, some of that. In other words, is there a piece of that we could do which doesn't commit to the whole project while we're still getting some more community input? It's a question. maybe other council members would know the answer.
Mr. Kamali, do you have I see your mic open.
No, I appreciate that. I just want to let everybody know that Jack and I have been working and we look at the well and what we can do. Because I've been here 6 years, I never seen that well overflows, but we do have an estimate, which was, provided by Rocio to me for $11,000, if I'm not mistaken, to connect the well to the inlet at the intersection of Shepherd and 33rd Street, in order to mitigate some of the runoff. But we also cleaned up the well last year by a contractor. We can do it again this year to maintain it. But the well itself, it doesn't have that much, as far as I know, because I've been here 6 years and I usually go to the spring park, and it's not really a big issue for the overflowing. But we have also considered the proposal to connect the well to the inlet at the intersection, so that could help somehow. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. There is a comment on the chat from Ayelet that says the well is not the source of water problem. It's actually runoff from up the hill along the school parking lot. And I know that was one of the requests from the schools when it comes to some ARPA funding as well. We're looking into to figure out also what the school district and the county are going to be doing, because what we're trying to do is not duplicate efforts, one, or two, utilize our resources when they are going to be utilizing it as well. So we're working as speaking in multiple planes at the same time. Okay, so Rocio, Mr. Kamali, you guys will work on the community meeting. You guys will figure out what's the safest approach, especially with all the changes we see coming right now with flu/new variant on site. But Ayele, you have offered also to help gather some of your neighbors. We'll take that. Also, Mark, as well, so that we could have a meeting on this item alone moving forward. I think that at this point, we want to make sure we address the 50,000. It's limited time right now. What we have in front of us is take it out to RFQ, and figure out who will take on this work. And yeah, the time is limited. So the turnaround between the community meeting and putting this out, it's going to be one of those things that the team is going to be working on this as they add any minor things. But I do feel this is because I've been in the first meeting. So aside from the ones that Luke mentioned, there was at least more than one meeting in front of Spring Park that we had in. I know Brian and Shavali and all of us at one point or another been in those meetings, and multiple ones at a time. So this to me strikes the balance between being cautious that it keeps a lot of green. And at the same time, it addresses some of the concerns the neighbors had that are directly adjacent to the property. So, Mr. Kamali, Rocio, you will be reaching out to the community to figure out when the meeting is going to be and in what way, so that we can move forward to the next step. Okay, Council, is that a fair summary? Yes. Okay. All right. Thank you, guys. All right. So can I have the agenda? And thank you, everybody that was here tonight as well on this matter. Okay.
Mayor, I just have one question.
Go ahead, Luke.
So is an RFP going to go out? What's the?
So at the same time that the RFQ is being put together, Rocio and Mr. Kamali are also going to work on calling a meeting to get the last final, if any, input, right? But at this time, we're definitely pressed for time to get the RFP out. If not, we will lose the money. So there's nowhere near and the things that we could do with ARPA that will give us this funding that we have available right now. And there's no more extensions after this. So it's basically use it or lose it at this point. So next step forward would be like Mr. Kamali and Rosia will work on the RFP, right? And we'll also be like scheduling a meeting to talk to the neighbors that couldn't be here to discuss the update and hear any other feedback from them. But after the meeting, RFQ is going out. And I checked the last email. Actually, MJ, you were there. If there's a better email address you need us to get a hold of you, please let us know, and we'll utilize that email address. But you were copying the email that went out. How long ago was it, Mr. Kamali? The email that got sent out?
Yes, because Jared was asking me to include MJ, and we did do that. And I asked Rocio to send the email. I think it was a month ago. Rocio is here and she can verify that information. And I'm sorry if she did not receive the email. We make sure that she'll be on that email too. So definitely she is CC'd and copied on that emails from now on. But we did send an email to her last month.
Yeah. So MJ, if there's another email you need us to use as a backup, let us know as well. So that way we're copying that email as well. And we're looking forward to working collectively, and thank you for all your work on this, including like making sure that we were able to secure the grant. Okay. So moving forward to item number, oh wow, where's the vice mayor when I need one? Vice mayor.
I'm right here. Yep.
Is it item number 6, presentation from the tree commission? Is that what we agree on?
That is, yes.
Oh, do we know that we moved that one down, correct?
Oh, wait.
Wow.
Is this the revised one, or is?
Yes, we moved the ARPA to number
back.
number 8 to number 12.
That should be moved too.
Yeah, that because we had a broad ARPA, and then there was a presentation from the tree commission on ARPA funding.
Okay, so that was a test. Pretty good. Okay, so we're moving on. So the old number 7 is number 6. Ordinance number 1321. Is that it? Providing a temporary amnesty for certain parking violations. Can you put the document on screen, Melissa? So, Council, I sent an email to you guys alerting you that this is work that we had been moving forward to address. Chief could be more is here as well, so he could give us a rundown on what citations we're looking into. As you know, once you get a citation, based it on our city rules, it incurs penalties and interest if you don't pay it. But thinking about it, and I reached out to both Mr. Kamali and Chief, if there's any way we could create an amnesty for X amount of time to be able to have the resident pay the original citation and not the amnesty and penalties. So give an opportunity to be able to, get on track on where they need to be. So Chief, can you explain a little bit of what this is and what it looks like?
Yes, Mayor. Good evening, Mayor, Council, City Manager, members of our community. We're proposing a temporary amnesty for outstanding parking violations. What we've seen is that many of our outstanding parking violations have accumulated because of the late fees that are assessed. You may know, once you go past 30 days, a doubling process starts. So you can see where typical parking citation for $30 may end up being $240. So in light of adverse economic situations prevailing for many of our citizens, and due to partly COVID, and we'd like to look at this amnesty for a period of possibly 60 to 90 days. It's a one-time amnesty, so that if these citations were to run up again for more, they wouldn't be able to come back. That's all we have for that.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. So this is an introduction for the document, basically. Okay, if you guys any questions, please let me know. So council members, I'm gonna go around, but I think the sense of like the heart of this document is to be able to help our residents, especially during this difficult time, and move forward after, give us a small a branch of token to be able to help them through. So I see Jerry, you have your mic open. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just want to say I'm in, full support of this ordinance. I think it's, obviously we don't want to. The parking fees are there for a reason, to make sure that violations and things that prevent folks from, being able to utilize our public street space is correct. But this, as Chief mentioned, the way the penalties can pile up can create a undue burden on folks that it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of. So I appreciate the approach, the intent, and the approach, and the outcomes that planned out the outcomes of this ordinance. So thank you, and thank you, Chief, for coming and speaking tonight as well.
Yeah. Thank you, Chief, and also for the great work your team is doing in the city of Rainier. It doesn't go unnoticed. Thank you so much for that. All right, followed by Luke.
Total support. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Wow. Thank you, Luke. Jimmy.
Ditto.
All right, perfect. Any member of the community, Facebook or chat? Mary Lee, you're going to be the next number up, okay? I apologize. It was mixed up on what number to move, okay? You're next. All right, hearing that there is none, we are going to get our hands to work on finalizing this document to ideally present it on the January 4 meeting, okay? All right, so thank you. So we are going to address, sorry, Mary Lee, you're next. A presentation for the Tree Commission ARPA funding. The Mayor and Council will have a presentation for the Tree Commission on the two proposals for ARPA funding, climate resilient and stormwater mitigation urban tree planning for $20,000 and Espario analysis of tree canopy for $10,000. And Mary Lee, you're here. Before I go, Chief, thank you so much for everything. Mary Lee, the floor is yours.
All right, thanks. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, okay, good. All right, I have a few slides, so I'm not sure if I need permission to share or.
Yes.
Can you grant our presenter rights, Melissa, please?
Okay, I think I have the rights.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay, can you guys see the slides?
Yes.
All right, thanks. I got my booster shot yesterday, so I'm feeling a little under the weather. So I'll try to make this as quick as possible. I'm only going to really focus on the first proposal for $20,000 because the second proposal, I think we found a free way to get it done, which is always good. So Mary Lee Howitt from the Tree Commission, and this is really focused on urban tree plantings. We have a proposal that I'll walk through to use some of the ARPA funding with the focus on climate resilience and stormwater mitigation. So I can't talk about trees without emphasizing the benefits. So just a little bit of context setting here, which I'm sure everybody on the council is very aware of, but just quickly, trees provide a lot of benefits from helping clean our air, absorbing stormwater, mitigating stormwater, of course, absorbing carbon dioxide, helping to cool our streets, saving homeowners energy from their cooling bills, supporting wildlife, helping calm traffic, and then of course multiple other benefits from helping increase our property values to calming anxiety, and a whole other list I could go through. But I think the key message here is trees provide a really strong return on investment if maintained. And then why am I talking about trees in the context of climate? I think, again, this is not unfamiliar to folks. We are expected to have more 95+ degree days in our summer. Currently, we have around 20 days per year. It's projected to go up to 40 to even up to 75, 95+ degree days by 2080. We're expected to have an increase in frequency and intensity of precipitation. We're already experiencing that now. And then having warmer winters, we'll have more insects emerging earlier and then more invasive species. So a diversity of trees is really important because we could have more diseases and more insect impacts. And this slide is really just kind of showing the shifts in terms of our climate and what to expect here in Mount Rainier, right outside of Washington, D.C. So by 2080, the DC area will be like Greenwood, Mississippi, just for some context setting again. This is a really interesting tool from the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, where you can enter kind of the closest city that you live to and what to expect in 60 years. So under a high emission scenario for climate change, are expected to have, about 10 degrees warmer and about 75% wetter winters here in Washington, D.C. Move to the next slide. Okay, so in terms of what we're doing now, we at the Tree Commission, as you probably have heard about, we try to every year, if we have the budget to support it, to go out to residents and see who wants to adopt a tree. And how we're sourcing trees now is through the Tremendous Maryland program. This is through the state DNR. They contract with the nursery, and it's a great program. It's very low cost, very high quality trees. However, it's a very limited diversity of species. And generally, we have about 3 species we can plant under our power lines: serviceberry, magnolia, and redbud. And then there is a suite of larger trees, but it's, again, a limited handful of species, some of which are overplanted in our community, such as the red maple. But what I'm going to get to is that some of the species we are planting now will not do well in a hotter summer. For example, serviceberry is modeled by the Forest Service to not cope very well with hotter summers. It's projected to do pretty poorly in this area. So the proposal we have for you guys tonight in terms of using the ARPA funding is to invest $20,000 over 2 to 3 years to purchase, coordinate, and plant public trees that are climate resilient. And I'll get to that in a minute. So this looks like over those 2 to 3 years, 80 trees. We would take the current model, which is coordinating with residents to adopt these trees. But then here's what costs the money is doing a contract bid to landscape and tree nurseries with a focus on integrating more southern tree species and a diversity of species that we're not able to source through some of the state programs at this time. This is something that we've been talking about at the Tree Commission for some time. We have a Commissioner, Barry Stahl, who spent a lot of effort putting together a very robust kind of tree list. We call it the Climate Resilient Tree List. Some of these species are difficult to source, kind of at your typical nurseries. And then just for some additional context, because you may be wondering, well, where are these trees going to go? Seems like we've been having a lot of tree plantings lately, which, yes, that there have been. But just for kind of a current state of where things are, the city removes about 20 dead or hazardous trees per year, depending upon kind of the budget we have to support. And over the last few years, the Tree Commission has sent out city notifications. We generally get 20 to 40 requests from residents to adopt a street tree each year. So I think the demand is there and the spaces are there. So the whole point is just that I think this is a strategic investment that the city could make to help be more resilient in 30 plus years and also maintain and grow the city's tree canopy and help address not only kind of the climate change that we're expecting to see, but also the stormwater issue as well, because trees help immensely with stormwater mitigation. So that is kind of the first proposal. And then I mentioned the second proposal we don't need funding for, but I'll just mention very quickly in case you're wondering what this was about. the urban tree canopy analysis, again, no funding needing. Look like we'll have some support from the county on this, but this is really about being able to use LiDAR data. So the county collects LiDAR data that can show percent cover of tree canopy. It can also identify places where we could expand our tree canopy. It can map heat islands, can overlay ownership zoning, gives you kind of height classifications of the canopy. And then the really cool thing, which we're interested in at the Tree Commission, is doing change analysis. So looking at, 2010 LiDAR data compared to 2020 LiDAR data to see those changes over time. And then usually it provides recommendations for action. And this is just a quick picture for context, showing the LiDAR, and the purple is the tree canopy, and then the gain is in green, and the loss. So this is just showing over time from 2014 to 2018 what has happened in this community, and certainly more loss than gain. So as a recap of this proposal, again, just kind of what, how, and why. Invest $20,000 over 2 to 3 years to do all the coordination, the purchasing, the planting, working with the Tree Commission in the city in terms of where they go. Again, mechanism would be a contract bid, focusing on integrating more southern tree species and the diversification of the species in the city that we're able to plant. And then the why here, I don't think I need to say again. So with that, that is our proposal for tonight, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mary Lee, for not just this presentation, but for all the work that you and the Tree Commission have done over the years. We definitely know we now had a very great Tree Commission. Our canopy will have been destroyed maybe by now. It's easier to just think to go after the trees. So saying that, I'll go ahead and open the floor to wow, all your mics are open. How cute. Open the mic to council. We will start with Jared this time, because I usually start with Luke. So Jared, Luke, and then I usually do Jimmy, since we don't. Go ahead, Jared.
Good, thanks. Now, first off, Mary Lee, I just wanted to thank you for taking the time and hanging through a long work session to present this, and thank you for not only a fantastic presentation, but some really incredible visuals, and awesome graphic design to go along with it. Helpful. Can you flip back to the second to last slide, not the one that says questions, but the one before that?
Are you talking about the loss and gain of the canopy?
No, not that one. Slide 12.
Sorry. Can you guys hear me again?
The one before this one.
Okay.
Sorry, I just think. Okay, so the proposal, $20K over the next 2 to 3 years, purchase, coordinate, and plant public company smart trees. Okay, great. And so this, this proposal would cover that across the city, and this would also have significant benefits in terms of helping address the long-term stormwater challenges in the city. Correct?
Yes. There's a lot of evidence about trees and stormwater. So if that kind of is a big angle, I think what I'm hearing with the ARPA funding, we certainly can emphasize that. But my understanding of how the funding works is it needs to be obligated by a certain date, but hopefully spent down over a couple years once it's obligated. So that was why kind of staggering the plantings over 2 to 3 years would be the ideal.
Yeah, and I think someone else can correct me if I'm wrong, Brad, but it's an obligation, but it is also an outlay requirement within the ARP time period. So not necessarily as long as you might have with typical federal funds. But I really like this proposal, in that there's a lot we're trying to do to fix the built environment, and make with permeable pavement, with a lot of proposals to address stormwater impacts. This is something that helps build and encourage and grow the native environment natural environment, sorry, to help supplant and support and mitigate some of the impacts that we've made with our built environment. So I don't have any additional questions at this point. I just want to thank you again for coming in.
Sure.
Thank you, Jared. Luke, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Mary Lee. Thank you so much for putting this together and the work y'all do. I support it. This is, in some respects, not only is it much needed, but the tree commission had some funding for maintenance cut during the COVID years, and so there were some lean budgets there, and there are lots of trees that continue to come down every year, and so we've got to replace it. And I support it. Thank you.
Great, thanks.
Okay, Jimmy, Mr. Kamali, I see your mic open.
Yes. Yeah, I'm fine. Thank you. I just want to say thank you, Mary Lee, for all you do, and I do appreciate your work.
Jimmy, one of your mics is open. Go ahead.
Yeah, Selena, we can't hear you that well. But anyway, Mary Lee, thank you for all the work. It sounds great. I do want to apologize to the Council of the Public. I'm dealing with some kind of family medical issues, so haven't been able to get on a time. I may have to get off soon, but thank you for everybody. And if I have to leave the meeting, I apologize for it, and we'll look forward to seeing the whole video of the meeting. Take care.
Thank you, Jimmy. So, is there any comments on Facebook or on the chat? Please let me know by adding your name. Staff, anything from Facebook? I see none for Facebook. And anything on the chat? No comment from the chat. I was trying to see if Brian was still here. Okay, Rocio, anything else to add to this?
No, nothing else to add. Again, I just enjoy really working with the Tree Commission. I enjoy everything they do and appreciate everything they do. And, I'm always in support of anything Green Team, Tree Commission, anyone in the city would, like to move forward with. And we're just here to, make it happen.
Perfect. Mary, I think we're all in support. I didn't think this was going to be a challenging, but we always ask to present so that when the community has any questions, they go address them. But thank you for also thinking about it. Like we mentioned earlier, it's 5.4 sounds like a lot of money, but we're trying to make sure we spread it evenly in the things that we need. And definitely was a hard decision to try to trim the budget as much as we could during COVID, that we're still in the middle of it, but definitely think that this is money well invested when it comes to our tree, not currently, but in the future as well. And one more thing, we received an email earlier today or last night. I think the Tree Commission, pretty sure, Rocio, I think I've heard to other people that need to know. We need to update the various green climate change things that we are doing, because I think they end up until 2018. So we need to actualize the last few ones in our city portfolio that the climate change side has. So we have work to do during the next few weeks as well, or months. Okay, but thank you, Mary Lee, for everything. And Melissa, can you go ahead and make sure that this item is also on the January 4 agenda under the ARPA for us to vote on? If I'm hearing correctly, Council, we're in agreement, correct?
Correct.
Correct.
All right. All right, perfect. Thank you. Have a great night, Mary Lee. Thank you for everything. All right, moving on to the next item on the agenda. I apologize. Let me see this. Okay. The next item on the agenda will be keeping the course virtual, and I believe I saw Linda here. If not, please let me know who's speaking on behalf here. As a quick throwback, a few months ago, we also submitted another letter supporting it, but for sending it to a different group. So Linda, the floor is yours.
Okay, thanks. Back in April, Dawn Long-Necker and Cindy Lapp, the two of them are both from the Hyattsville Mennonite Church. They, along with me, we requested a letter of support about keeping the courts virtual. This has been an effect of the COVID pandemic, that the courts are now open to people to observe as well as to support people in the court as they face the courts. The group that has supported this is Court Watch, which has been observing the courts virtually since the beginning of the pandemic, has compiled a great spreadsheet of many issues related to the courts, and has provided support to a fair number of people who have been arrested, and they've been able to have family support and so forth. I don't really think, since it's so late, that I should rehash all of the issues that we talked about in April, since that time the council unanimously supported it and the letter went out. It was very nice. However, there are a couple of new people on the council this time around, so I would be happy to answer questions. At Luke's request, I drafted a letter that would sort of update the issue. The current thing is that the judges have not said that this should be a permanent policy for the courts going forward indefinitely. It's been keeping the courts open for virtual access has been happening throughout the pandemic, and of course is going to continue to happen now with Omicron variant. But I think that in the long run, the group that does Court Watch really felt that it would be a good idea to propose legislation. So this is a request to support legislation in the 2022 session coming up beginning in January. And I submitted a draft bill. It's been reviewed. It's been accepted by some of the senators and people in the House. I think that Jill Carter is sponsoring it in the Senate. I'm not sure who's sponsoring it in the House, but I know there's several people that are interested. And the idea would be to send a letter that's presented here to the Senate and House Judiciary Committees, as well as to John Morrissey, who's the Chief Judge for the District Courts of Maryland, and then show our support as a city. And at this point, I don't have numbers for the bill, so you can't exactly say in the letter that this is about Senate bill number or House bill number. But I don't think that's important right now. I think it's fine to send a letter to the chairs of these committees and to Chief Judge Morrissey. And then when the time comes to do testimony, I could just submit it as testimony or, testify myself in support without asking the council to do anything further. Would people like to me to give a little more detail about the legislation, or would you like to just ask questions?
So, Council, I'm going to open up the floor. This is an item that we have already addressed. But Luke, go ahead.
Yeah, I guess I was confused as to whether we, it's worthy of sending the. I know you said it's something we've already addressed, but is it worthy of now sending this new letter forward, just to sort of reiterate our position, and then maybe Selena, maybe I'll ask that question of you before I go back to Linda.
Mm-hmm. I will say, because we already voted anonymously, we could send this letter without having to take it to vote for the floor, because it just changes the name of the person we're sending it. And I was even going to ask Linda, if you give us the data, if it works with my schedule, I have no problem going and testifying in behalf of Mayor Council, because it's our letter, and if not, definitely read it. But to me, it's one, it's great to present it, but this letter could go out tomorrow. That's what I was trying to say. We don't have to hold on one more date and then we go always send a third letter once we know what the bill numbers is, reinstating our support. And so, that's the reason why I said we could move very quickly with this letter, because we already have supported it. And it's the city's stand, and nothing's changed from nothing has changed unless otherwise you guys tell me to when it comes to supporting it as the city. So we'll go out tomorrow. I'll sign it off tomorrow and it goes out tomorrow.
Great. Okay. Thank you for the clarification. And Linda, thank you so much for showing up and talking and doing all this good work. I appreciate that. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Perfect. Jared?
Linda, I just wanted to thank you again, like others that have come tonight. Thank you for waiting until we got to the item. It's really important, the points you make up, and I appreciate you bringing this to my attention personally, and seeing it in the past. It was a new issue to me, and I'm really glad that you and Cindy Lapp and others are carrying forward this and making it a topic that folks are aware of. So again, thank you again for taking the time tonight and support.
Perfect. Jimmy?
Same.
Okay. So Linda, we'll go ahead and put it in city letterhead, and this will go out tomorrow. And please keep us posted once you hear a bill. We have no problem, resending another letter and showing up to testify as well. Okay?
Okay, thank you very much. They'll be very happy to hear about it.
All right. Have a good night. Thank you for being here as well. Okay. And for all your work, you definitely helped us out a lot, even through this last holiday season. We appreciate it a lot.
You're welcome.
Have a good night. Okay. All right, Council. It is 9:05. I would like to say that. Keep it short. All right. Moving on to item number 9. We have a resolution number 9-2021 regarding the charter amendment. I know we have discussed this several times, and now it is in resolution format. And from here, if we all agree, it will go directly into our special legislative mission that we have for tonight. At this point, we're just making sure we're checking all the boxes to make sure we are following procedure. Can you put the document on the screen, Melissa? Thank you, Melissa. All right, so you see it right there in front of you. It's basically the same. Most of the key wording that was presented in the last meeting. Vice Mayor, Jerry, can you give it a quick run through, please? Acting Vice Mayor, go ahead. Jerry, do you quit on me already?
Sorry, I was on mute. This is B-. This is a charter amendment. This is a charter amendment resolution number 9-2021, introduced by Mayor Benito City Council. A resolution to amend the charter of the City of Mount Rainier, change the procedure for filling a vacant City Council seat. Whereas the City of Mount Rainier, hereinafter the city, is a municipal corporation of the state of Maryland, organized and operating under a charter in accordance with Article X1E of the State Constitution of Maryland and Maryland Code, annotated local government article. And actually, Melissa, can you make that a little bit bigger? Thanks. I wanted to read off the screen instead of off my, okay. Whereas pursuant to local government article section 4-301, the city has the authority to amend the city charter in accordance with procedures set forth therein. And whereas the city has, in pursuant to the authority of article X1-E, section 4 of the Constitution of the state of Maryland, and local government article section 5-202, adopt the city charter, article 5, registration, nomination, and election procedures, including provisions for municipal elections for the offices of mayor and the members of the city council, and in particular, section 513, vacancies in office. And whereas the city council deems the public interest best served by amending section 513, vacancies in office of the charter, to provide that vacancies respect to a council seat shall be filled by special election in certain circumstances. Section 1, now therefore be it resolved by the council of the city of Mount Rainier, Maryland, that section 513, vacancies in office of the city charter, shall be amended to read as follows. Section 513, vacancies in office. A vacancy in the office of mayor or council member shall exist upon the death, resignation of, or recall of the official, or upon forfeiture of the office by the official in accordance with the provisions of this charter. Excuse me. Whenever a vacancy occurs, the council shall declare the vacancy at a public meeting of the council and fill the office as prescribed by this section. In the case of a vacancy occurring in the office of mayor, the vacancy shall be filled in the following manner. 1, where there is 180 days less remaining in the unexpired term, the vice mayor should become mayor and the council seat held by the vice mayor shall become vacant and filled in accordance with the provisions of this section. Where there is more than 180 days remaining unexpired term, the council shall call special elections provided in section 513. In case of a vacancy in the office of council member, the vacancy shall be filled in the following manner. If it occurs more than 1 year before the next general election, the vacancy shall be filled by special election as provided in section 514 of this article. If it occurs less than 1 year before the next general election, the mayor and remaining council members shall appoint a qualified person from a list of no more than 3 qualified persons provided by the remaining ward representative to serve as council member from the appropriate ward until the next biennial election, where there shall be a special election for the council office. If a vacancy cannot be filled by this method, the method set forth in subsection C.1 of this section, due to unforeseen circumstances such as multiple simultaneous vacancies in the same ward, the council shall call a special election to fill the vacancy as provided by section 514 of this article. For the purposes of this section only, the provision of section 306 of this charter requiring the affirmative vote of 3 members of the mayor and council to take any official action shall be suspended. A simple majority of the remaining members of the mayor and council shall be sufficient to fill any vacancies as required by the section. Section 2. Be it further resolved that a complete and exact copy of this charter amendment resolution shall be posted at City Hall for a period of at least 40 days following adoption, and that a fair summary of the proposed amendment shall be published in a newspaper of general circulation in the city not less than 4 times at weekly intervals within that 40-day period. Excuse me, sorry. Section 3. Be it further resolved that this charter amendment take effect on the 50th day after adoption, provided that not timely petition for referendum has been filed in accordance with Maryland Code, annotated local government article section 4-304D, on or before the 40th day after adoption. In the case of a required referendum, provided that majority of voters vote in favor of the charter amendment set forth herein, the charter amendment shall take effect on mayor's proclamation of results, which shall occur within 10 days of certification of the results by the Board of Elections. Section 4. Be it further resolved, the city clerk is directed to send the Department of Legislative Services within 10 days of the date when the charter amendment comes effective is the following information concerning the charter amendment. 1. The complete text of this charter amendment resolution. 2. The date of the referendum election, if any, held with respect thereto. 3. The number of votes cast for and against this charter amendment resolution by the Mount Rainier City Council or a referendum election. And 4. The effective date of the charter amendment. Section 5. Be it further resolved that the city clerk is specifically instructed to carry out the provisions of section 2, 3, and 4 hereof as evidence of compliance herewith, and that the city clerk shall cause to be affixed this charter amendment resolution into the minutes of the regular meeting of the city council, adopted an appropriate certificate of publication of the newspaper in which the summary of the charter amendment resolution shall be published, and shall further cause to be completed and executed a certificate of effect.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you.
Need a water break.
I need a break.
So, Council, you guys heard fair reading of the document in front of you, as required by our rules and in our city, city attorney request. So I'm going to open up the floor. Jimmy, go ahead.
No comment. It's fine. Let's move ahead.
Okay, Luke.
Same. Thank you.
All right, Jared.
No comment. Let's move ahead.
All right. So on the last page, the page before the end, can you pull it up, Melissa, please? Right there, where it says there. A little bit further. Go. I'm sorry. I'm just really blind right now. Keep going. Keep going. Right there. Freeze. It says this charter amendment resolution by the Mount Rainier City Council. Can you just add by the Mount Rainier Mayor and City Council, and that's it? That'll be my only addition to it, and I think they caught everything else up. All right. So. This is just a reading in a work session. If we're in agreement to move forward, let's move forward to the next item. Unless there's some, is there any members of the public who have a comment on Facebook or on the chat? Seeing that there is none, let's move to the next item on the agenda. Okay, discussion on potential crosswalks, speed bumps, and stop signs. The potential crosswalks and stop signs that will be up for review for tonight will be 30th Street between Bunker Hill Road and Shepherd, Bunker Hill at 36th Street, northbound Rainier Avenue at 33rd and Taylor. Is there a reason why the Newton one is not here, out of curiosity? Oh, sorry, it's the following. All right, so council, here's the information. Anybody wants to fill in a summary of this? Luke, you look like you want to do this.
I can't. And Jarrett, did you want to take the lead here? I didn't know if you were close on these things. I don't want to jump ahead of you.
I was going to give Jarrett a break to drink some water.
Sorry.
That's the only reason why I didn't call upon him. I was like, poor Jarrett.
I know of the request at Bunker Hill and 36th, and it seems like a fair request for a stop sign and crosswalk there. The northbound Rainier Avenue at 33rd and Taylor also would be great there for a stop sign. And I think it would actually, yes, northbound, yeah. I think that would be great for one. I think the northbound Rainier at 33rd and Taylor, you've sort of got to figure out the location of the stop sign. But a crosswalk there I think would be helpful, because right now there's only a stop sign for southbound traffic and traffic coming off Taylor and 33rd. And I'm not quite sure what the crosswalk would look like. You'd almost want to do, you'd almost want to put crosswalk across that whole, like some intersections, like the entire intersection is sort of crosswalked over. So that might be something to consider there. But I'm supportive of those two, and then I'll leave the 30th Street question to Ward 2, because I think that's a Ward 2 question, although I could be wrong.
Okay, so Jerry, you taking your rest? Any comments?
Yeah, no, I just, honestly, I want to echo Luke's thoughts on the two projects that are sitting in Ward 1, the Bunker Hill, or the request, Bunker Hill 36th and Rainier Avenue at 33rd and Taylor. We have a broad challenge with folks, usually folks that do not live in the neighborhood, speeding through. I think most folks that live in the city itself are conscious of their speed and conscious of the stop signs. And, in the case of, we can't prevent cut through traffic, but we can help mitigate the speed of which they go through the city. I think additional traffic calming devices, such as, crosswalks and speed bumps, make a lot of sense. In the case of the 30th Street between Bunker Hill Road and Shepherd, there is a stop sign on both ends. There's no speed treatment currently on it. And there's tends, as compared to other sections of the city, tends to be a lot of acceleration and sometimes running of that stop sign because of the lack of any speed control device other than a stop sign, which is something you're legally obligated to follow, but doesn't slow you down in the way a bump would. So, in full support of treatments that we're talking about on all these places as requested by residents.
Okay, one question I do have before I go to Jimmy. Do all these three crosswalk and speed bumps and stop signs, I think am I correct in saying that they're all speed bumps and crosswalks? There's no stop signs asked on these three, right? Have all of them gathered the proper signatures of the reason why they're in front of us? Kamali, that would be a question for you.
Mayor, can I make a comment there? Just
go ahead, Jimmy.
I think that's why I think the discussion should be crosswalks and stop signs and not speed bumps, because I think we have a process for doing speed bumps, which, is next point on our agenda. So if people want a speed bump, they really should go through the process of getting a petition, because not everybody may want a speed bump on the block. I don't think that's in the code about crosswalks and stop signs. So I think that's appropriate. I think in general, I think we should, some point in the future, we should have an overall discussion, because the problem is if you put stuff on one block, it just goes to another block, and so that's an overall discussion. So I think the discussion should be more about crosswalks and stop signs, which I'm supportive of. I think speed bumps, we should really go through the process, because other people have gone through that process. It's really not fair to go through that process.
Jimmy, at least, Luke can...
Hold on. Wait, hold on.
Oh, sorry.
So, Jimmy, are you done, or do you have any other remark to make?
That's it. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Jared, you be aware. So I have a question. So it's my turn before we go the second round. Because as much as I like you guys, I'm not staying here until 1 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So I agree with you, Jimmy. I think that the 30th Street to Bunker Hill Shepherd, that is a speed bump, right? So if they don't have a petition, we need to give them a petition so that way they go through it, because the one on Newton, I do remember seeing a petition that was cleared by, I believe it was Rocio and Mr. Kamali, if I'm not mistaken, one or the other or both. Okay, so I definitely would like clarification on that one. And if we could have them to go through the procedure and send out. I know there was a letter, but the procedure is a form with signatures from the 60% of the block included on it, and then the one before and after. All right, Jared, the floor is yours. You're on mute. You see, you wanted to speak so badly, you went on mute. Thank you, Jared.
Yeah, I was just following up. I know there was a letter submitted. Mr. Kamali, can you speak to the status of? Yeah, there was a request for speed bumps.
Yeah, I got the letter.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, can I go and answer?
Go ahead, Mr. Kamali.
Okay, all right. On September the 10th, I received the information and the letter, and I gave it to Melissa. Can you bring the letter up? I gave it to you, and on that block, we have 11 houses, and I have received, according to the city code, we need 60% signature of the block, and they are maintaining that requirement. But the only thing that we have to ask them to fill out that form, that's why when I saw the letter, I think that would be sufficient. And I do validate their request because I visited the area, and there is a need for a speed bump. So I do have a letter if mayor and council are okay with that. Otherwise, we can ask them to just fill out the petition and send it to me.
So I would say in order to follow procedure, they need to fill up the petition.
We'll do that.
Right. And it's not like the money is going to be awarded in this meeting anyway. So they have a few weeks to get it done before we meet again. Right. But I think it's easier to do a standard because Newton Street came to us with an email and everything. And we know that it is there. Right. And they were asked to sign petition. And it's a matter so that way, one, it serves as a couple tools. One is to make sure the other residents are aware. Right. And two, to make sure we follow the same approach with everybody. And that is definitely important, because I don't want later on for somebody to say and it's happened to us before, especially with the parking passes, that people have come to us and say hey, I didn't know we had it to pay. And they signed the letter and everything, right? And we had to show them that even the information we send on behalf of the city show what the parking passes fees were going to be for the year. And so, so I think if let's send them the petition so they could get it filled out. If it's 60% of the houses there and before and after, and you say whatever, let them know whatever the number fulfills that, right? They could do it in the next few weeks until we'll address this again. Okay. Mr. Kamali, go ahead.
Well, I just want to make sure, that this location could be on our radar and be approved by mayor and council, but this year it's not possible in this fiscal year. So definitely, I do appreciate mayor and council to allocate some money for FY23, unless, there's another option. So I just want to make sure that for this fiscal year, the money has been already spent on other locations, so we don't have any budget right now at this time.
And the bumps are somewhere between $5,000 to $8,000 each, correct? Or somewhere around there?
It depends how many we're gonna have. The more we have, so we better wait and, come up with a good package for the contractor to give us a better price. If the number goes up, I can get a better, rating or
pricing,
something, cheaper than for smaller package.
For one or two of them, yeah.
Yeah, one or two or three or whatever.
Okay, so Jared, you won the second round. Let me go to Luke and Jimmy, and then I'll come back to you on the third round, okay? Remember, it's 2 minutes or less at this point. Go ahead, Luke.
So I know it was crosswalks and stop signs for Rainier Avenue and at 33rd and Taylor. So for the crosswalks and stop signs, is that something for just those aspects and putting the speed bumps aside? That's something that we could do this year in a budget amendment, or is that something that we'd want to do in the FY23 budget?
Mr. Kamali?
Well, it's up to the mayor and council. We can do the budget amendment if we just have to look at the budget and look at the public works budget and see if we could find some money, or from the speed camera, probably.
So yeah. I'm really open either way to Mr. Kamali taking all these and incorporating it into his budget proposal for us, or us doing it off budget. I'm really fine either way. I trust if Mr. Kamali thinks we can get a better price on things, I trust that. But I'm anxious to see what the rest of you think. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali. Jimmy?
I just want to remind people that I think on the speed bumps, there has to be a public hearing before we move forward, according to the code. So once we agree, then we have to have a public hearing on the speed bump issues. I don't think there's anything in the code I've seen about either crosswalks or stop signs.
Thank you, Jimmy. Jared, and just to make sure you guys know, this is the third round. You have under a minute, and I will have Melissa live with the buzzer button behind you guys. Just kidding. Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks.
Jared, the first yours.
Yeah, Luke, thanks for covering the point I was going to make. And I like the idea of, trying to see where we can fit this in. Mr. Kamali, if I can just, make sure that we kind of communicate clearly to, the proposing residents about where things are, what the procedure is. I think some of the challenge that I get when folks are curious about this is they want to do it and they don't understand where it is, or what the procedure is, or that, quite frankly, and I didn't even understand this coming on, that we're small enough that we have to program funding for these. So it's not like they propose one, it goes to the hearing, we approve it, and then it gets built the next day. So I think helping message that clearly, it really helps, residents understand when and how they should make these requests and what the procedure is. Because I think that's, if folks want to have something ready to go, knowing that they needed to fill out this form, a form, and as provided, and get those signatures on is really important. So thank you for the update. Thank you for the clarification where these stand within the budget process. And if you all can just focus on, I guess, communicating to residents on process and approach, that'd be great. Thank you.
So to wrap it up, since we are 2 minutes now over the time. The 32 between Bunker Hero and Shepherd, Mr. Kamali and his team will communicate with the residents what is needed of them. Bunker Hill 36 and Rainier 33rd, Mr. Kamali will bring proposals of what it looks like, because, obviously if we have a couple more bumps, it's more doable for us to do it in comparison to 1 or 2 that are going to be the equivalent of an arm and a leg. And we will work on maybe making the process business already on the webs a little more clear, so that we could direct them there. They see what the steps look like, and we do not feel anybody with false expectation that this is approved today and the bump will go in tomorrow, including the comment that Jimmy made that it has to go to a hearing by, according to procedure as well. Am I correct?
Yes.
Council? Okay. All right. So that's where we are with that. All right. Moving on to item number 11. Discussion on petition for traffic calming device, 3400 Newton Street. Luke, I'll give you the floor.
Thank you. And I think Jimmy worked a lot here with the residents too. There have been issues on Newton Street with traffic calming. It's a one-way street, and they get traffic either coming in the wrong direction or speeding, trying to cut through from 34th over to Eastern and avoid the stoplight at Eastern and 34th. So residents have come together and put a petition for traffic calming devices here. I do want to note for folks that there is the potential for there is a Newton Street ARPA project that we can talk about today, or if we're running out of time, maybe move the ARPA discussion to the January work session. This could be incorporated into that design if we wanted to do something with Newton Street. I just keep that in the back of your mind. If we're going to redo all of Newton Street, we might as well wait to do this until then. But the bottom line is that residents there really need some help with traffic issues and safety issues there on Newton Street. And Jimmy, is there anything? I don't know, if Mayor, you may want to go to Jimmy to see if there's anything he wants to add.
Yeah, we could go to Jimmy. I've been going to Jimmy last because he said he'll let me know if he needs something to say.
I think.
But go ahead, Jimmy.
I mean, I think we should go through the process of having a public hearing on it. And that doesn't necessarily mean we have to move ahead and have it, but we should at least, have the hearing. So if we want to do it, we can do it. So, I mean, they've gone through the process of getting a petition. It's been validated. I think next process is to have a hearing. And then after that, the question of how we implement it, given other possibilities, is something we should hold off on. So I would suggest that we move ahead and have a public hearing on it at some point.
I would support that. And in the past, I think we've scheduled them for 6 p.m. before a legislative session, or 6:30 p.m. before a legislative session. So maybe we do it. I know January is the new year. Maybe we do it before the February legislative session. Just ideas, but Mayor, I know you can take it from there. Thanks.
It doesn't mean we have to move ahead with it immediately. Just that
Guys, we just had to over at this point, and as much as I like you guys, they're we keep going back and forth. That's wait until either the next round of your time is given. So I will say let go of it. Okay, Jared, anything to add? Office, Jared?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I appreciate this being brought to the council. Just again, wanted to reaffirm for Mr. Kamali that, making sure our residents that have put forth a request for this understand the process that they need to bring, by which they need to bring stuff to, because it is not necessarily very clear on the website. I don't want to expect them to read through code to figure this out. So this was brought forth in a way that it was supposed to be, and is clear. If we can make sure to communicate that for future requests, especially as we look to bundle more than one of these, and sure to get economies of scale. Thanks.
So I definitely want to clarify something. I don't know if it's in the website or not, but on the document itself, the process is listed. We might have to add one more thing on it, but I think the hearing is definitely, my understanding is listed from what I remember from the document. So yeah, I definitely look forward to what the next step is when it comes to the hearing. I traveled through the street enough to know that traffic calming devices are needed. In the past 4 years, while Luke and I were council members for the area, we have placed any light. Mr. Kamali also helped place a sign that said residents only. Fix certain things, but it helps some, but it still needs a lot more help. So I will say, moving forward to the next step. Chief, I do see you're here. You have anything to add and any of this information we have discussed it?
No, ma'am, Mayor. Nothing to add at this time.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I will do another round unless you guys tell me you guys are ready to move it forward to the next step, which is the public hearing. Council, Jimmy?
I'm fine.
Okay, move to the next step. Okay, Luke?
Sorry.
Jared? Oh, Luke, you have something else to add? Go ahead.
No, I'm good.
Okay, Jared?
I'm good as well, thank you.
Perfect. So, Mr. Kamali, can you have your team work when it comes to a public hearing, including informing the resident? Both, I'll work with you guys as well, Jimmy and Luke, to make sure reach out to the residents in the block so that way they are at the public hearing. Okay.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you so much. All right, moving on. Jamie, you said something?
I just said sounds good.
All right, perfect. Can you put the agenda, Melissa? Melissa's like, making sure I stay on task. All right, moving on to the next item. ARPA discussion. The mayor and council will review, update a list of potential projects. Luke, go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. I can share my screen right now. There's only a couple of things that we could update from tonight, and then we probably don't need the entire 20 minutes. I think the big one is Spring Park from that discussion, and I can just show you what I did from the last time. Right now, we only have the 609,000 for 31st and Perry. That's dedicated. We had consensus on 33rd and Perry, and that project is incorporated into the Memorial Park project cost estimate. I just didn't know how to. When Neil provided us a cost estimate for that 3,300 block of Rhode Island Avenue and Memorial Park, it included the stormwater fixes to 33rd and Perry. So I didn't know how to say this is the cost for 33rd and Perry versus that whole project. So that's why you see this as green right now. Whoops, sorry about that. Those are my priorities for next year. So then you can, let me try to, I got to move this little box out of the way to make sure I can go down. The rest of the projects, I think we haven't made any decisions on or progress on. The spatial analysis of the tree canopy, we heard from Mary Lee tonight that they're going to see if they can get that for free. So I'm going to...
Can you not delete it, just put a note on it?
I'll strike it through right there.
Yeah, thank you. Because that way at least it is kept for our records of things that we have evaluated. Because if a resident asks us questions about us addressing certain things, we could always say like, it was discussed and this is the reason why we didn't move forward. So it makes it a little bit easier for us to communicate the message.
Yeah. And then the climate resilience and stormwater mitigation, urban tree planting, that was 20,000. And I think Mayor, I think you recorded consensus tonight, not any vote, but I'll just put it in the blue shade as consensus on that project.
Forward. Yeah.
For a later vote. Okay. That's that one. And then down here, let me see. I think we have Spring. Yep.
We also have Thomas here, Luke, in case we have any questions. Okay.
Okay. Thank you. On Spring Park, we've got the we had the rough estimate from Jack for the 48,000, for the 50,000 for the grant. I heard from Mr. Kamali the 11,000 price point for the stormwater fix. And we had this as blue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this $50,000 out because that's the grant money. And I'm going to do $11,000 stormwater fix there and just hold that. If people think that's a good idea.
Make a note that 50,000.
Yeah.
So have it there for continuum.
Yeah.
Right. Because I don't want people to think that 11K is doing everything we're going to be doing there, because it's not realistic. Okay. Thank you so much. All right.
Okay, I'll do that. And then the Memorial Park, which includes that 33rd and Perry. As you all know, we have the $300,000 already allocated. We have $300,000 in grants. And Mr. Kamali, is that $400,000 that the city has available for this project?
Yes, Memorial Park, yes, we do have $300,000 grant plus $100,000 from the city allocation. So
Okay.
it's $400,000.
Gotcha. So that project, which includes that 33rd and Perry, is just $1 million. With the new cost estimates that includes the redo of all of Perry Street, which was going to be phase 3, and this would just get everything done at once. Mayor, I know you want to get out of here, so we don't have to talk about that now. Obviously, I'm going to very much push for that, but that's just there so folks know what that means. So
that we could follow through. And remember, the other thing is like PowerFi reporting. It's also keeping track of all these updates that we've been giving the community, and they go access not just today, but also like anytime they want through our site. So that way also keeps record that we are being transparent in the decision, but also the process.
Yep.
So thank you for adding it to the agenda, making sure we keep track of it. Okay.
Yep.
Go ahead.
And I think that's it, unless Mr. Kamali has an update on the program manager position for the city.
Mr. Kamali?
Well, so far, we're still receiving some resumes and applications. I have not been able to really come up with some good candidates. So we posted the job at MML. Also, we posted at the other site, that county website, city's website. So right now we got 4 locations that the job is being, advertised. So we're waiting to at least find somebody with a good qualification.
Thank you, Mr.
It's gonna
Kamali.
be sometimes next year.
Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to open up the floor to council. Jared?
Yeah, no additional comments. Thank you. Thank you for all your work on this, Luke.
Yep.
Jimmy? Jamie, are you there? So I have one thing I would like to add. I know that we put 40 for our social service coordinator. I definitely would like for us to see if we could make the commitment for the next, next 3 years at least. So I would like to put at least a parenthesis there so that we could make sure that we do not, that we allocate some of the funding for that as well. So we know for sure the position will be held through the ARPA funds for next 3 years.
So would that be
120?
120?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, because I want to make sure we take that into account. All right, Luke, the floor. I mean, do you have anything to add except for your presentation? I don't want you to see your time because you were introducing follow-up.
No, I know we want to get out of here. You guys will probably hear me harp on that Memorial Park and that 3300 block redesign. I think it does the stormwater management. It does the whole project. That project is done. then we can focus on Potts Hall. I think it's a really good one. So I hope you folks will consider that. And then we still have a lot remaining. I think this is probably good for the public to know. We've only allocated 1.5 million, actually 1.499. So the vast majority, 3.9 million, remains unallocated. So there is lots of funding here to go around. And so residents, we can still take all your suggestions and recommendations as we continue to move forward.
One more thing, Luke, I want us to, if it's not for this work session, but for the next work session, I want us to potentially look into the water storm management up the hill from the school. Because it feels like no matter how much work we do down the hill, if we're not fixing the issues that we have up the hill coming from exactly where my Rainier elementary tips off, we're just going to be catching the water at the bottom.
Yep.
So maybe we need to start looking into what that looks like. And I'll follow up with Pam, our Board of Education, to figure out what the Board of Education is looking into as well, because that problem is going to, it doesn't just run down on the street and, where the school is at. And also, Shepherd takes a lot of the water. Was it 32nd, where the school is at, takes a lot of the water. And obviously the whole block where the school is at also takes a lot of water. So we definitely need to look on to figure out what we can do. Go ahead.
Yeah, Mayor, maybe you and me should talk online, because Mary Lee had recommended the church parking lot of First Baptist is actually at the highest point, and it could be something that the county might have some faith-based money, and it could be easier to administer than the school. But we can talk about that offline, and you can talk to Pam, and we should chat about that. Yep.
Yeah, I definitely like the sound of that. The other thing is, we need to make sure that is there, that we need to bring up for the next work session, is the hazardous pay. Mr. Kamali, can you put some proposals together and work with Tom to figure out what we could potentially do when it comes to hazardous pay for our team?
Sure.
And what the limitations are, so we could start the conversation.
Okay.
They're usually PD and public works are on top of this, but I want to see how far we could stretch it. So that needs to be part of this conversation. Okay. So let's have a work session for January. Okay. Anything else? Anyone? If not, we'll move on to the next one. This was just like an update and touch bases on this. Anything on the chat or on Facebook?
One quick note, Mayor.
Go ahead, Jared.
Yeah, I just wanted to, mention, obviously, we were really lucky that we have this resource from the federal government. I think it's unlikely, given the political environment and the amount of spending right now, that coming from the feds, that we will see additional formula allocation like this. But I think, we need to spend this money down in the time allotted, but also just be mindful that we may be dealing with some additional rounds of COVID impacts that we weren't expecting with the growth of Omicron, which is unfortunate. But just want to make sure we keep that in mind. We need to allocate, we need to spend down, but we may have maybe plunging more back into impacts with COVID than we expected due to Omicron. So that's it. Thanks.
100% agree with you, Jared. I think that's one of the reasons why I also mentioned the hazardous pay for the team, for the staff, but also when it comes to our residents and business, as you guys know, the housing application, they closed it for this on December 15, so they're not taking any more at this point. They are so behind; they're still addressing letters being sent from last year. And since a lot of residents are also mentioning that the communication hasn't been so good, it's not like they're telling them hey, we got your application and yes, you're a candidate, we're just working through the process so that way you could get your money. It's like they're there with not knowing whether they're candidates or not, or whether they're going to get a penny out of it. So definitely this new variant, it's coming heavy and strong, that's why I am glad they closed the school. So those, I keep calling it survival, parents, teachers, and students collectively. Yeah, we already had a scare on both of our elementary schools, and so right on time before they, right on time when they close, we got news about it. So minimal or not, we need to be concerned about the fact that our families are going to continue being affected. So outstanding comment. All right, so we'll move on, and that's the reason why we need to make sure social service coordinators is there in center, because she's been able to help a lot of people working with PD. And so, all right, moving on to the next item, if you guys, see it fit as well. Can you put the agenda on the screen?
Sorry.
No, thank you so much. What was the next ARPA item that we moved?
That was this one.
Yep, that was it.
Yeah, the other ARPA item, that was the tree commission presentation, not a discussion on the overall portfolio. So we're good.
Okay. Moving on to item number 13. What I see right now is presentation of December 7 legislative meeting minutes. Our clerk has been really on top of making sure we are on compliance with these minutes. So you see them presented in front of you. Please give any feedback to Melissa before the Wednesday before our next meeting, so that way she can incorporate anything that needs to be changed into the minutes, so that way it could get approved on the January 4 meeting. Melissa, anything else to add regarding the minutes? I can hear you, Melissa. I think she's shaking her head.
Oh.
I know. I promise I will let them know, Melissa. If you have nothing to say, silent tells her that you're okay. Melissa, you're really good. All right. So that puts us on to item number 14. Am I correct? So this is item number 14. Can I have a motion to adjourn the work session for today?
So moved.
It has been properly moved by Stoffa, second by Chesek. Any objections? Hearing none, the work session has come to an end, and it's going to be followed by a special legislative session. Okay? So can you put the agenda on the screen? All right, Jared, you ready for this long special legislative meeting agenda?
I am. Nothing on the screen though.
And one whole item? Okay, hold on. Melissa was so happy with the minutes being moved forward that she's like, wait a minute. All right, it's on the screen. Thank you, Melissa. Go ahead, Jared. So let me start with the first one. Let me call the meeting to order. And we do have Councilmember Chesek, Councilmember Stofes, and Councilmember Tarlo, and myself as mayor here in the meeting. So we do have quorum. So we're moving on to item number 2, review and approve of the agenda. Jared, can you please, as acting vice mayor, supporting acting vice mayor, read the agenda for us?
Yep. This is the meeting of, the meeting following the work session. Number 1 is call to order. Number 2 is review and approval of the minutes. The mayor and council review the agenda for the meeting, adding or deleting topics of interest or discussion. Number 3, resolution number 9, 2021 charter amendment. The mayor and council will have the first reading of the resolution number 9-2021 and item 4, adjournment.
So thank you so much, Jared. To point out, this is a special legislative meeting. Can you make sure you change that? Can you move it down just a little, move it up, whichever. Just put the heading on top. There you go. As you can see, it's a special legislative meeting because it is being done out of our regular legislative meetings. Our next scheduled legislative meeting is on January 4. So seeing that there's this, the agenda has been reviewed. Thank you, Jared, for that. Can we move forward? Can I have a vote for approval of the agenda? A motion, please.
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
So the motion has been properly moved and second. Any objections? Hearing none or abstentions? Hearing none, we have adopted the agenda. And my agenda's gone. It's a whole one item. So on the work session, we had a reading of the whole entire resolution. So fair reading, right? Basically, in summary, as it currently stands, based it on our charter, if a council member leaves their position, the council member that staying ward could bring up to 3 names to mayor and council for them to vote and appoint. The change that will be made is the rule as we currently have it will stand only if it's 12 months or less. That's when mayor and council will appoint based under the same guidelines. If it's more, which that will be 24 to the 13 month prior to the next election, we will go for election for that specific war and that specific war only. And it'll be a special election at that. Is that a fair summary, Council?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. So we have talked about this various times and we have read the whole entire document. Do I have a motion in the floor to approve? Hold on, let me move the screen so I can read the number correctly. To approve, can you bring the heading where I could see it, Melissa? There you go. Do we have a motion on the floor to approve the Charter Amendment Resolution 09-2021?
So moved.
Seconded.
It's been probably moved and second. Any discussion? Okay, so I'm gonna call you guys by name because it is a charter amendment, so that was on the record. So, Luke Chesek.
I'm a yes.
You and Austin and Finn are a yes, I hear. Jimmy Tarlo.
Yes.
Jared Stolfus.
Yes.
Okay, so that's 3 councilmember yes, and I vote for yes. So that's 4-0-0. It has unanimous been introduced. Sorry, there's no vote for this one. My apologies. There's no vote. This will be a vote for us to discuss, but we approve to discuss it. So officially it's been introduced. It's going to go on to the January 4th agenda for a vote. Okay? Yes? Council,
Yes.
you awake there?
Yes.
Yep.
I know
Thanks.
I'm not the only one here staying up with the staff. All right, perfect. So, Melissa, can you please add it to our January 4 agenda? And please make sure we list it as discussion and vote, so that we're in compliance. And make sure we send this. Let the Board of Elections know that the first reading took place and we're moving forward for a vote. Okay. All right. Next item on the agenda is adjournment, but I'll take 1 minute of privilege and you guys can have it too, just to wish our residents happy holidays and a happy new year. This is the last work session and legislative session of the year. We will reconvene on January 4 via virtual method once again. And I'll give the floor to each of the council members to say anything they want to say as the last 1 minute wrap up. Go ahead, Jimmy.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Jared.
Happy holidays, and thank you to staff so much for all your hard work this year. It's very in support. It's very much appreciated.
Thank you, Jared. Luke.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to say thank you to staff. These are some crazy times that we're living in. It's hard. Everybody's got to sort of adapt and be agile. All those management speak words that I think really mean something this year. Thank you to Mr. Kamali for taking over in the city manager role. And I just appreciate Mayor, you stepping up to bat for us and in this last year, being the interim city manager there for a while when we needed you. Jimmy and Jared, it's been great working with you. And staff, you all just continue to amaze us. Just really happy with all the departments and how they're working right now. I think we're going to do some great work with this ARPA funding. And I'm really excited for the budget that we're going to get to visit here in the spring. So keep it up and have happy holidays, get some good rest and relaxation. And I look forward to seeing everybody in the new year. Thank you.
So I will start with our wonderful staff. Mr. Kamali, you have put an excellent team together. Some of our staff that have been here even longer, you definitely have rise to the occasion. It's been a difficult 2 years. It's nowhere about it. And some of you guys joined like 2 months ago, 3 months ago, and you guys hit the ground running with everything that we have asked you to do. You have raised to the occasion and you have taken lead, and it's so heartwarming to see that you guys care about the city as much as we care. And you have chosen to work in this city, Mr. Kamali. Thank you for being such an excellent leader and pulling everybody together. I know it takes positive energy to make sure, people go to work every morning, making sure they know like they're here for our community, and so are we. Chief, to troubled time, your team has pulled through, and thank you for the arrests that were just recently made. That's a lot of hard work from the police department, the detectives, also the CIT training, the press conference, and your very high emphasis in community policing, and at the same time, mental health awareness and training for your team. Rocio and Alma, both spectacular work as well. I know your interim positions, you have given so much for the city, and even when we know you've given so much and we trust and believe you guys so much, you continue rising to how much you can give us. Mr. Hopkins as well for economic development. We've had a lot of ribbon cuttings and murals and events and information and outreach to our businesses. And finance, I know how you guys fund the department, you're building on it, but every single one of our staff members, new or old, have definitely rise to the occasion. And you guys truly have been there from, showing up at 4 o'clock in the morning to receive the products, to working endless night, and even sometimes like 4 or 5 different events during the week. You guys have pulled through to make it happen. So I want to make sure the community knows that you have a very hardworking team. And all the great things that we do as council and mayor as well has been because we have a lot of support from our team that sometimes they're behind the scenes, but they're making sure we stay on task and also make sure that they support us in the things that we need. Jimmy, Luke, and Jared, thank you for stepping up to the plate. It's definitely difficult to be in this position knowing not sure what's coming, but I know all of you guys have put a lot of time of effort from your personal time to make sure you're here for the community. And you guys work endlessly. So I appreciate that. Everybody has their strengths, and we're trying to at least work with each other and allow space for others to lead and work together to make it happen. And I want to say a big thank you to your families, both council and staff, because if we don't have the support at home, we couldn't do half of the things we're doing. So thank you, families, as well. So when we start saying, like happy holidays, whatever your religion or not is, we look forward to continue celebrating with you as a city. We were really, really happy to celebrate, share on Diwali when it came to Hanukkah, when it comes to Kwanzaa, when it comes to Christmas, and the various celebrations we have through the year. So thank you, guys, and enjoy your break, as big as little as that might be. So thank you guys enormously. And I would like now to call the meeting to adjournment, if I have a second.
Second.
There's been properly moved and second. Any objections? Hearing none, the final special legislative session and work session of 2021 has come to an end at 10:03. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Thank you,
Have a good
Mayor
night.
and Council.
Everyone.
Sorry for the
Thank
babysitting.
you.
Thank
Happy
you.
holidays.
Happy holidays.
Bye,
Happy
everyone.
holidays,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye.
Yeah, Chief.
Chief. Thank you, Melissa.
Thank you, Mr. Kamali.
Thanks to all of you guys.
Thank you, staff, for your support. Thank you.